Hey all, thanks for being here. This is brighter than I am comfortable with. Uh, this is the All Black Everything roundtable, which we'll be doing in just a second. Hope you guys are doing here well. If you're here, and yeah, let's just get right into it. I decided to skip the bullshit where I like wait on black people to show up. I just like, I was like, fuck it, I'll rather like not start the stream and then jump into it. So that's why the stream is a bit late, but here we go. Hello all.
Prime, how's it going?
It's good, Brian.
It's all right. I'm doing the damn thing.
You survived and made me money. God bless you, sir.
Oh, I made you money.
I told you, I bet on you.
Oh, you were serious about that?
Why wouldn't I?
I didn't know. Who would you bet on? Like, who would you bet with? And like what was the boundaries of this bet?
Oh, just some randos, but they said basically you were going to get railroaded by Gibbs and Tim Pool. And I'm like, no, Prime is strong in what he does. I guarantee you he will be fighting.
Oh, yo, all right. Okay.
Look, Prime. Now Prime's like, okay, so what's the profit share here?
No.
I will give you $2.50 of the $5.
Okay. Well, I do. I mean, well, thank you for the vote of confidence. There, it's really kind of you. Yeah. I mean, wow. Okay. Yeah. It's amazing. They had like no faith in me to do that. Yeah. Like I came correct, right? Like they tried to find me lacking, and it just didn't happen. So yeah.
You never think Prime lacking.
Absolutely.
Hang on him.
Wait, who didn't believe in you?
Multiple people.
Yeah, I was told. So I didn't look at this, right? Maybe Bam saw this, but I didn't look at it. But Gibbs was telling me about like, so we put out these two Twitter posts, right? Like we were supposed to be like dueling videos to make the announcement. Well, there are people who didn't see one or the other, right? And then they were like, oh, either Gibbs is lying or Prime is lying, right? And then they're at first, right? And then there are people who saw both and it's like, oh yeah, they're just making this up for some reason. Why would they get invited? And so that was worth it. Like, why would we make this up? Well, what kind of lie would this be? Like for what reason? And for like, how would I get away with it? Any which way, right? And then after that, there were people who were just trashing one or the other. Well, mostly me, really. Saying that I'm gonna get wrecked. I don't know who these people are. Again, I'm not on Twitter just like that.
Random people, but I like money.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pre-debate, like I said, the pre-debate poll, obviously on Temple Show, was like I said, it was 98-2 against Prime. The odds were not in his favor.
When he asked Gibbs to explain the Impoundment Control Act of 1974 and the look on Gibbs' face afterwards, I was dead.
Yeah. About that. Gibbs wants to talk about orgies. Like, like
what are you talking? Let's talk about the stuff that matters.
Yeah, it's like nonsense. Like I'd already, I mean, like it was okay. So I think both Gibbs and I had fair warning of each other because we had already talked about it twice before, right? So I already knew where he was at. But like I came with so much more research doing this, and like, so what you guys don't know is that well, this has been true for like a few years now, but especially during the Trump administration, I have just been like collecting articles the entire time, right? Like when I hear something big is happening, like noteworthy of the government, I'm like, there's going to be an argument at this at some point, right? And I'm just like collecting articles. So my research was almost all done beforehand. Right, like I had the articles. Not all of them I had read, so I just go back and read some, and then like put them all together, like the ones that would be necessary. But like most of the work was done, so I just collated the articles and then came and wrecked house. That's simple.
Proud of you. Make black people look good. But I was about to say, finishing what we were saying before. Okay, quick chance. If you got 1 minute to name 5 black superheroes that don't have lightning powers and don't have black in their name.
Okay.
And taking the bullet.
Bishop.
Bishop, okay.
The first one, of course. Green Lantern, John Stewart.
Green is his name, but sure.
Oh, sorry, but you said not black.
Yeah, no, it works. That's what I'm saying. It works.
Oh, okay.
He's not
Okay,
black
sure,
his name. He has green in his name.
Okay. Fuck. It's been a while. With the comic book superheroes. Gosh, I'm not sure how good you are with comics, right? But maybe Waterkai will know this guy. It's from Generation X. There was this guy. He was a black guy, had a bald head, and he could imitate other people's powers. And I can't remember his name. Sorry.
Oh, Sync.
Sync. Yeah, it's Sync. Yeah, Sync. There is it depends on who you're talking to about this one, right? Also X-Men, Sunspot. He is an Afro Latino guy. But sometimes I like to portray him as just like Latin, cut the black out. And one more. Miss Marvel. One of the Marvels, one of the Captain Marvels.
Kamala Khan is
not Kamala Khan. The other one, the black one.
The original.
Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau, yeah.
I would have thought you went Luke Cage, but yeah, you went a little bit into the depth.
Yeah.
For me. But
Sync was a deep cut. Nice.
Yeah, Sync's a deep cut. Yeah, people don't talk about Sync like that. So like you got to know. But yeah, Sync. And apparently he was like really good because like it was amazing because it's like hold on, Bam. Did you see My Hero Academia?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So remember there was that one kid who could take people's powers for like a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that. But like and also like the main bad guy could take people's powers. Like it makes you have to have a level of skill with that because especially when his powers ended up getting much stronger later on, so he could hold on to them. But like before, he just gets these powers, and then you got to make something of it like right then and there, right? You don't have like the years of training the other people have. You gotta like do something useful of that power in that moment, right? And sometimes you got to beat the other guy who had that power for years. And so like it's such a level of adaptability that like most people don't have. But yeah.
I mean, I guess
Sync was extra filthy because you could he would take your powers and be able to use them better than you could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shout out to Sync.
Can you say the name of that show one more time, Prime?
The name Boku no Hero Academia.
No.
My Hero Academia.
What is
Hero
Academia?
Academia is academia. It's definitely academia.
What is Academia?
Yeah.
Oh no. That's how. No, I see what you're saying. No, academia is that way, but like it's been pronounced multiple ways within the show. So Boku no My Hero Academia.
Because they're Japanese.
Yeah, I know.
You're
I'm
not
aware
Japanese.
Hold on. Boku no Hero Academia, right? That is that's Japanese. Boku no mine. Basically, it's like the male version of I, right? Plus the possessive no, right? Hero Academy. That's the Japanese. So so you're saying like, oh well, next thing you'll tell me is that like the English way of pronouncing it is Naruto, Naruto. Yeah, like come on. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Naruto. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Naruto.
I'm American.
Like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, right. Believe it.
That good old Naruto.
Okay. All right.
Have you done something different?
Who?
I don't know. DQ's like all we get is eyes, but they
feel
different.
It doesn't
look like her.
A little bit more.
No. I just.
We can see the mind.
I'm not in my Palestinian garb. That's what I normally have been wearing is the colors of Palestine, And then, I wear my
Nah, that's not what he
wonderful-
mean. Normally
like
we can't see.
Yeah, I feel like you're normally in the.
We can't see we see some cheek. We see a
No,
little bit
no,
more nose.
Mm-mm.
Hold
This
on,
is
is
what I
Queen
would
cute?
normally
Hold
wear.
on now.
I've been cute, honey. You don't even know.
Hey, but we don't. Yeah, exactly.
As he set himself up for that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't tell. We can't see you. What?
I know, but I'm telling you, underneath this, I am beautiful. I am cute. That's right. You just can't see this. You can't see me.
I can't see me.
Shout out to John Cena. But Azzy, I also want to say I respect that you found. I respect your style. I think you have a very you style to you, and even though I don't think you're African, there's an African aesthetic to it, but I don't think you're African at all. I don't understand it, but maybe it's just where you live. That's how y'all move. But it looks good. It works for you.
100%. Yeah, it feels very African, but like,
like even now you was wearing like, could you in like the preacher collar, like the collarless? Like I dig it. I'm like, that's a good look. I was like, but I don't think regular niggas just wear that.
It looks like a what's the men's wear in in Islam, but it's very similar.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, like the shirt type thing with the
yeah, which I love. Those are so cute, and I mean, girls can get away with it too if they really wanted to. But like, yeah, it's so smooth. You put some good pants underneath it. Ooh, you rocking. It's very similar to like Indian garb too, very flowy. Put some pants underneath it. Like, yeah,
it looks
same
good.
thing.
That looks really good.
Don't gas him up no more. He got the appropriate amount of gas. I just wanted to tell you.
True. We can't gas that nigga no more.
Yeah.
You look good there. You been somewhere? You had a date? You ain't been out?
No, I wear this all the time.
Oh, this is just a regular day for
This
him.
is regular. This is my
this
regular
regular
style, right? It's like you just lounge around the house.
Put his watch on.
Yeah.
Nah, I like style.
Mhm.
And one day, I'm gonna be rich enough to afford what I really want. I want to be like those 100 black men walking up, making their own suits. They got like the velvet, the velvet inside their suit jacket. Walking up, I want to walk up on the White House, and they got to pull out the guns because they're afraid of all these good-looking black men. I want to be in that collective.
Oh wait, what?
Have you ever heard of the 100? There was like this initiative where there was this event where 100 black men, like well dressed in suits, right, ties, they're all well groomed. They're like fashion influencers, and they sell like suits and their own garments. They did a walk on the White House. It wasn't nothing crazy, but they had all the Secret Service and all the cops just ready with their guns, just pulled up. And then they compared that to January 6th.
Exactly.
And you were like, oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's 100 black men doing here.
100 black men. That's a threat. Yeah, that's a motherfucking threat, right? Like, pull out, get the Army Reserves here immediately. But like thousands upon thousands of white people show up angry, right? Saying they're gonna cause trouble. Nah, we don't need extra security, right?
I'll tell you. Okay, to be fair, if you look out your window right now and you see 100 black men in suits, I'm probably calling the Secret Service too. They gotta be like, these niggas are up to something.
Or ask if they have a bean
We gotta get
the end of the day.
Yeah, Bam works for the FBI. Like, hold on, we got some black people doing organizing around here. We gotta do something about that.
And they're like, what? Black people standing around? They got suits. And they were like, wait a minute. I love that, sir.
That's corporate. You won't see that at JP Morgan, at Accenture and all that.
No, you wouldn't see 100 black men at JP Morgan. You're correct.
That would be weird.
Well, I mean, the collective of all the corporate entities, they all coming from all these different jobs.
Finding 100 black men in any place that like is steeped in money is like it'd be a surprise, right? Yeah, it would raise some sort of alarm. Like what?
ATL, you got ATL, you know, like that's true. You got some parts of Florida. You got some big buku money out there, right? But yeah, like, you ain't seeing that everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, when they got their like little white parties out in Miami, right? Well, then sure, okay, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Coming up all dressed in, yeah, those nonsense.
Those infamous white parties.
Infamous white
we don't
parties.
talk about
you
white
said
parties.
it, DQ. Oh no.
There's a pretty, I'm about to say, there's a big all white party that happens every year, in some like in the middle of like what you call it, and all the celebrities go. But it's a good time.
Oh, the Hamptons usually.
But so quick question before we get started. I'm getting my ass beat on Twitter, and I need to understand why. For clarification. So, fun fact, or not so fun fact, depending on how you feel about it. Quinta Brunson is getting a divorce.
Wait a minute, she sounds hot. I think I remember her.
Wait, yeah, didn't she just get married though? Ooh, that's a little too loud for me.
She's from
didn't she just get married though? Or has she been married?
I think she's been married for a while, but she's getting a divorce, and he had a white husband, and
she had a white husband.
Yeah, very like not just like kind of like a very white husband. And
yeah.
I responded like, "Oh, black men, the chance has been given to us."
Oh, that's her husband. Okay.
And
her
now I'm getting my ass beat. Now I'm getting heat right now. Like, what is wrong with you?
No, they've only been married since 21. That's not long.
3 years.
3 years. Again, that's not very long.
It's only 5 now. That's what, 5 years? 4 years?
Wait, but
4, 5, 4 years? 4 years. I mean
like,
you're still under
only
5.
Like 31. I mean, what else? I mean,
she's 35. She's my age.
I don't know.
Danger zone.
Yeah.
But why is she? But hold on, no, it doesn't even matter because it could be a plethora of reasons why. Like they don't have any kids. That could be a reason why. Maybe he wants kids and she don't want to have kids because she in her Abbott Elementary era, and she's like, I get pregnant, this could be up for me.
It's true.
So there's could be play. But why are you getting killed?
They would just write the days of this show.
But just because I'm about to say, basically, they're saying that I really don't know. The responses vary across the board, but basically, like, I'm just like, this is a sad excuse for black men. We don't want back the ones that left us behind. She can stay gone.
What?
Like somebody said, I need to be soaked with acid. That's pretty strong.
Whoa.
Huh?
It's going crazy. It's in my empire, you be castrated and sent off the island.
Yeah, there is like among a certain cohort of men, right? Like a feeling of emasculation when like women of your race that you think belong to you, like go off with the other team.
I knew that was the thing with white people. I knew white people like a white woman is tainted from black people.
Mm-hmm.
Like a white
she didn't even. I'm sorry. I'm like reading this. I'm just saying, as a black woman, right? Like she didn't even say anything that like he was her husband until 2022 when she accepted in her Emmy speech. Okay.
I mean,
so that tells you everything. That tells you everything you need to motherfucking know.
Yeah, and she doesn't even come off as like. There's some people that's like, oh, okay, you
like a Candace Owens, like yeah,
she's not even like that. Like I mean, her partner in the show is black. Like she comes off very black typical. Like if anything, I was surprised. I was like, whoa, she got a white spouse. Like,
I didn't even know.
She did not come off as black typical at all. Did you watch her on when she was doing the YouTube videos?
No, you need to go back further than that. Do y'all remember when she was working for BuzzFeed and doing all of those? Like she was firing every single one of them. Every single one of them, she got that shit.
Didn't come off as
she was dope, but I didn't think
she didn't come off as typical black female. She came off as awkward black girl.
I mean, but awkward black girl.
Lots of black girls.
I say Issa Rae is awkward black girl, but awkward black girl.
Yeah, but Issa Rae also married the black. Okay, why are we getting into all of this? But
no, Issa Rae.
You fell for it.
She had to First of all, she was kind of tall. Just saying, you know, she spoke with a cadence. Hold on, as being around a lot of black women that act like Issa Rae and act like Quinta, a lot of them throw off black men. A lot of black men aren't interested in them, but they'll look at them from afar and see them dating because they'll get passed over for another black girl who's a little bit more, I would say like ethnically African American in their speech, in their cadence, right?
I thought he said a little noir. I quit.
Is he trying to say ghetto?
They're not listening. Like when I'm thinking, like these are the black women that are into Korean pop. You know, they have they listen to boy band. They're like alternative black girls.
I don't think either of them listen to boy bands. If they did, that would be wrong. I don't get that from either one of them. It's boy bands.
I'm like through and through rock chick. Like, okay, you give me some around some like good rock and roll, some good emo shit. Cave.
A lot of black men are into alternative black girls or alternative noir black women. In a way.
I do think it's a thing. I just don't think these women fit that category of what you're talking about. They're like, I know what alt black girls are. I don't think Quinta Brunson is an alt black girl.
No, absolutely not.
She seemed like the type that be singing what's the band that I love?
What band do you love?
Yeah, how the song starts.
What's that? Oh, I write sins, not tragedies. What's the?
Panic at the Disco.
Too bad.
Oh, come on.
Everybody like Panic at the Disco.
Okay, thank you.
Love Panic at the Disco.
Hold on.
Yes.
There is a segment of black, and this is probably the black men that are killing you. There is a segment of black men that are not into any of that.
These are the segments like when they're killing us.
They will judge you for listening to
you in particular.
I thought you meant like these are like the killers. Like these are the thugs.
I thought you said they were killing you on.
I mean, like killing you. These are the black men. I was like, what is this?
This is the segment that's probably telling you need to be, that you need to be castrated. You need to be anointed in acid.
Yeah.
Anointed in acid. Wow. Only has a way of words. Got
I thought that's what he said. What did they say? I thought they said you need to get hit with acid or something like that.
Yeah, like I need to be like dumped in acid or whatever.
Yeah, dumped. Anointed. That's that Christian talk. But
Bible make you smart.
Maybe it's just a disagreement on what that means, what the alt thing means. Like I said, I understand awkward, but I don't necessarily associate awkward with alt. Like,
well, you would think awkward. You're not awkward because you're like autistic or socially awkward. No, it's because you had certain preferences and certain things. It was like the Blurds. Blurds are black nerds. They weren't awkward because they were like just different psychologically.
No, y'all were fucking awkward.
That totally alienated them from
Queen.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Trust. I grew up with a lot of Blurds. I grew up with a lot of y'all. Okay, y'all were fucking awkward. Y'all were just all up in the place, all up in your anime shit. Like y'all just want to go motherfucking to Japan and be like free as a black
we all
man.
know Corey Kenshin, right?
Ooh.
They probably didn't put on lotion every day. I think that's
okay. We all know Corey. There's a lot of black men that don't put on. I know a lot of Africans that don't put on no lotion, and Haitians that don't put on no lotion, and they're not weird.
Okay.
Bringing up Haitians was real particular. I don't know. That felt like a shot.
I'm just saying, there's like uber ethnic black people that don't put on that.
Do you wear lotion? That's a good question.
Okay.
He didn't answer that quickly. Do you not wear lotion? It's fine if you don't. It's just I've never met black people
before he went on Timcast. That's for sure.
You should. You wear lotion.
Okay, so
hotel lotion.
Sorry, going back to Bam. Why the fuck are you? Why are you getting dragged online over Penta?
I'll answer the question.
I need him to answer this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. One. My mother and father, right, from the motherland, right, or the sister land where they stopped off at, I guess, right, from Haiti. They're big into lotion, right? My dad is like always talking about, you gotta put body lotion on. Oh my God. I would put minimal amount of lotion on. Like if I saw like I got trouble spots, I'd do that. But like I wouldn't put on a lot. But now again, like I'm a hermit, so I stay in my room all the time, so I don't feel the need to do it like on a regular for what fucking reason. There's literally no reason.
It's for your skin health. It's just natural
I'm cool.
moisture into your skin.
Nah, I'm cool. But when I went to the pool, right? As he is correct, there was like hotel lotion. And I did exactly. So I'll tell you the truth, all right? Okay. I copped to it.
I hate how much I love you so much, but like you get on my last nerve, bro.
As he's all right through me.
Camera.
Like look at Azzy right now. Azzy is moist right now. I can see it.
He was like, "Oh, look at on camera." He's like, "My pants
Azzy,
like this."
Azzy ain't been nowhere today. This is just normal. This is what you supposed to be moist. Look at that beard. You got some oil in there.
Yeah.
This is what you got.
Before, I was.
You was walking around dry.
Terrible.
When I gotta go somewhere, or when I'm gonna be with a woman, right? Which hasn't happened in a long time. But when it was happening, I would always. I would
have your penis dry.
I wouldn't put it on my penis. Don't worry, it's gonna get wet any which way. But in terms of the lotion, I'd put it on for that to look. But like, if I'm in my room, there's like no one here. Why the fuck would I bother with that?
Moisturization is a daily process. I don't care if you're going somewhere or not. It's good for
everybody ain't about that.
Quality.
Nah,
that's those mama's boys.
Kyle, do you wear lotion?
Absolutely.
See, even Kyle wears lotion.
No, that's not the question. Like, if you are
moisturize daily,
he had a strong female influence.
Yeah,
in his
even
life.
if you're just chilling at home.
he keeps it on him. He keeps it on him. You have to moisturize daily. I could tell. Look at that. Look at that head. Look at his
This
shoulders.
seems like a very American standpoint where like, hey, I'm going to waste resources even when I don't need to use them. Right? That's like when not thinking about people from other places who don't get to have lotion. I gotta save something for them.
Do you see those people at like 46? Do you see their skin? Like you moisturize daily for the long-term health of your skin. It's like it's actually good for the health of it.
That's gonna
but nobody thinking about that. We just getting up, going to work, eating, coming home. Ain't nobody thinking about skin health.
If people want me to use lotion, then they should sub to the channel, all right?
There it is.
So I can get some money, all right? And then I can get some honeys, and then I will moisturize for them.
Honey.
That's how that works.
I got a sub. That buys me at least a month of moisturization.
A month of moisture.
That was like the ritual in my family. Like you take your shower in the morning, you put on lotion or oil or whatever it is that you do, and then you do it again before you get in the bed. Never get in the bed dirty.
Yeah, common sense. You have to. It's like saying I don't brush my teeth because I'm not going anywhere, or I don't.
No. There's actual damage that happens to your teeth. I actually brush my teeth an abnormal amount of times, like a lot actually, during the day. I will. I brush often.
You brush after every meal? Are you one of those weirdos?
No, I don't brush. Oh, actually, no. I sometimes I do. Depends on how my mouth feels. Like if it feels like stinky or whatever, right? Then I'll do it. But not specifically after meals. That's not the criteria. But like just off, like whenever like I got bad taste or whatever, right? I'll just do it. Or I'll forget that I did it before and I'll just do it again. I will brush like 7 times in a day. Like no joke.
So
It sounds
that's
like
weird.
you need like a
And then-
toothbrush counter.
You're probably
of how many
ruining your
times
enamel.
Nope.
Yeah, for real.
Nope.
You at least floss.
So I hadn't gone to the dentist in like years and years, right? Because one, I didn't have insurance, and then 2, also I just like it's like not a thing that's on the top of my mind.
Yeah.
So it was like after like maybe a decade, I had gone to the dentist, and like they because I needed I needed to go, right. And the dentist looks into my mouth and she's like amazed. Like this, like your mouth is so healthy, so incredibly healthy. She said, my teeth are in better shape than hers. That like one of the best mouths she had looked into. I'm just
Okay.
saying, right? This is top class here, right?
Top class mouth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't even floss. I don't floss it or anything. I just like
You should floss.
You
I
floss.
should, but like I just like
I do water floss. I don't like the physical floss,
Mm.
but yeah, I got a water
Yeah.
flosser. But yeah, you should wear lotion. Start whenever
I'm
brush your teeth
definitely-
less because you're probably doing too much. Wear lotion more. Let's put the baby on those two because you.
Nah,
No.
man, you good.
No.
Because you're keeping off plaque. Every time you
see
brush.
7 times a day.
Yeah.
So
But
what?
There's
It
plaque
depends
buildup.
on it depends on how long you're doing it, how hard you're doing it. If you're doing it just right and you're doing it often, it doesn't matter. It's
No.
like drinking.
Tell people when they have a problem. 7 times a day is a problem. 3 is like crazy, Max. Twice a day is like good. 1 is you can get away with 1, but it's probably not enough.
No,
You probably should
I,
have morning and night.
I definitely do it a lot, and it works out for me. And like and furthermore, what I don't do what I don't do is like I'll eat before I go to bed, right? And people say like you're not supposed to do that. I do that all the time. It's like not a problem.
Like
Like
it's horrible for your like.
that's
stomach.
literally never been an issue. Ever. I've been doing it for so many years. Since I was a child, I've been doing that, and it's fine. But in any case, my point is that like ever since I was a kid, like I think I had 1 cavity when I was a kid, but then those teeth like left, and I have 0 cavities. It's like nothing. Perfect mouth health. Yeah, they're out there.
The
All right.
tooth fairy would be so proud of you.
You can start. I'm sick of your nonsense.
Very out of business.
Yeah, putting a lot of
I also
business.
like how you
We
didn't
do
ask if
need-
I put on lotion, but that's great. I'll be the one to
we
say
I
do
don't
that.
know
need to
you
do
put
as
on
people.
lotion. You. I could tell.
What we do need to do as a
Oh,
people,
can
we
you?
need to start using.
You look like you smell good.
We need
Sure,
to.
okay.
Wow.
She's offended.
You see that game? You see that game?
Nah, for me that always felt creepy.
What?
When somebody,
Smell
oh, you
smell?
look like you. Nah, you.
I'm about to say, smell is the best compliment you can give someone. If someone tell me they smell good, I'll smile all day.
I don't know, man. I've seen.
You don't like somebody, you don't like being told you smell good? What are you talking about?
Nah, because I've seen a lot of cat calling, right? And there would be times where I had to intervene because we got dudes.
Yeah, you
out
gotta
here
let Bam know. You gotta regulate Bam right now. Let him know that's
Hey, hold on.
unacceptable behavior.
I wasn't like, hey yo,
Yeah, but-
baby, let me get some of that. I ain't do that.
Man, have you ever cat called?
Probably, yeah. I'm about to
Yo,
say
you-
college for sure, absolutely, 100%.
Don't you want to be
this is
cat
why
called
the
by
American-
a woman who's
I don't
like,
think it's,
oh
I don't
yeah,
think
you
it's
smell
like
good?
great.
Bam is the reason American masculinity
Yeah.
is dying.
Yeah, there you go, right here. Like
Hey,
I've
man.
never catcalled anyone ever,
Yep.
never. I can
Catcalling
guarantee I've never
is-
done
Not
that.
even with peer pressure.
Cat calling
No,
is
I never
psychotic.
catcall.
That's-
Oh, I've catcalled
I wasn't around
men.
people who would even peer pressure me to do that. I don't catcall.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
No. Cat calling men? Now that's fun. Let me tell you. Roll down the window and you see a bunch of men be like, hey, how you doing? You looking good? I'm sure you be smelling good too. You looks good. Yeah. What you doing? Are you working or are you walking? Like,
Yeah, see, that's how I'm gonna pull up in your car. I'm gonna be at your house tonight.
I say that because we've actually had that happen to my friend and I when we were younger. Someone was like, "Hey, are you working? Or are you walking?" And we busted up fucking laughing. That shit was the funniest thing.
I
But, you
don't
know.
like it because when women do it, there's some women out there. Like I've had my butt pinched getting off of a subway. I'm like, I
No,
know
that's a
that-
little too far. That's too far.
Nah.
Yeah,
that's
don't touch me. Don't
equivalent.
touch me.
I'm
That's equivalent.
I think that's the equivalent where women walk up and they get all physical or cat. That's
well, yeah.
your
I mean,
cat-
like if he doesn't consent to it, then like it's fair to say that he doesn't want to. If he doesn't want to be touched, he doesn't want to be touched, and
Yeah.
that's okay,
Yeah.
right? Men should be able to say
Touching
that.
either way, it's a no.
Now,
I'm just
No,
kidding.
no.
to be clear, I'm consenting to it, right? So there ain't any attractive ladies out there who want to feel, cop a feel. It's we're open all day, every day. We're there.
Cop a free fill.
Yeah, but like,
This is
but
my address.
I don't
Come
like
by.
it when and I don't think Bam's trying to do this, of course, but I don't like it when it's like an expectation that, you know, like men like want to be touched, right? And that like they don't get to consent to these things. I've talked to a bunch of men who've talked about like, yeah, like especially like, going at the club, like there are a lot of women get crazy, right? So I grabbing all kinds of things there, right, without consent. That's not right. Yeah. They gotta like let them know, gotta respect their boundaries too.
Disagrees.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we like being catcalled though. I think because it just doesn't happen so often.
I would like to be catcalled. I've never been catcalled. I would like be. See, again, I can consent to that. I'm with you, Bam. Right? Like personally, I'm just saying for like a broader rule.
Yeah, no,
for
broader
people.
rule. Yeah, we
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have it in society. But I know men just
No,
out
Bam,
of like
stop
the lack
lying.
of
You
attention we
disagree.
get would react like positively to like a random compliment, like, "Oh, baby, you look
Bam,
good."
Bam, stop lying. You disagree with us wholeheartedly.
I know.
If a woman walked up to you and pinched your butt,
Oh,
you ain't
that's not touching. I don't consider touching and catcalling.
Yeah.
Yeah, touching and
That's
catcalling are
two
two different things, right? Yeah. I mean,
Alright,
they can be
but
both be
in the
violations. They
realm of-
both can make a place feel unsafe, but like they're two
Yes.
different things.
in the
Yes.
realm of approaching and in the realm of flirtation, I think it's around, there's some, maybe some, it's like a
Yeah,
one
massive.
step above where now you very aggressive.
No. I think 99% of people will find even if they're offended by both, they will find a massive difference between someone saying something like kind of rude, disrespectful, whatever, off the top, and like grabbing them. Like a girl, women are like keep walking, like, oh, that was, like,
Yeah, like that shit is like, don't y'all got more respect for
No.
yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's assault.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
that
literally
is assault.
Literally, yeah,
That is
yeah.
sexually assault, whether it be from a man to woman, doesn't matter. That's
Yeah,
sexual
I don't
assault.
think
I don't play that
catcalling
shit.
is a crime anywhere. I'm not sure. That might be some sort of harassment. It depends. I guess maybe if it's ongoing, then that would maybe count as harassment.
Yeah, if
but,
it's like someone that you're never gonna see again, you're gonna be like, dude, that fucking guy is the worst, and like,
yeah.
Like,
you
I
may
would never
say
stop
something in the
anybody.
moment, but it's like, yeah, like otherwise, as a woman, you're just kind of like, been there, done that. Can y'all just stop?
So let's move past. I mean, we're gonna talk about like what it is to be a man in a second, so we can get back to this conversation. Quickly, Bam. Like you're a mod here, right? You could just move people.
Oh yeah. I didn't know if you want. So tell me the rules because I didn't get the rules when I got the mod. Can people just be in private here? I didn't know if that was gonna.
Yeah.
throw off the-
Yeah. You just throw them in. Yeah.
Wait.
Whatever.
Okay, I'll just have them.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll just.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
You heard that right.
You gave
Mute that motherfucker. Mute him. Mute him.
Yeah, and I've been finding, because I know
authority.
white people are in the midst. So I've been finding ways to say the N word without saying it. You gave this Nickelodeon. You gave this Nicktoon.
I got
You
power.
gave this Nicktoon mod.
I got all the power.
My brothers from Legacy. Brothers from the Hop. Like,
No, honestly, I was here a long time. I had to request it, and I say it wasn't given.
No one can't. But I don't know why you did. Like no one literally there's no power here, right? And no one comes to my Discord.
Don't think there's not power. There's power.
There's no power here. There's nothing to rebel. That's why, like you asked me before. I'm like, why would you care?
He
Like,
didn't give it to me.
what-
I've been fighting for it for a while. Prom did not want to give it to me.
Yeah,
And
but like
think-
again, like I didn't
just
understand
annoyed
why
me.
you even want to. Like it's like
Life is better now. Life, trust me. Don't believe what Prom's saying.
Alright,
There's a whole club. We have meetings. It's like drinks and benefits. Like you don't understand.
It put a smile on my friend's face. So there you go. Yeah. All right.
And the meetings are really fun.
Prime.
They are.
Okay, Prime. But I said that I'd love to be your mod on Twitch, but nah. But you let any you
gotta
no let me finish. You'll let any nigga just do your Discord, okay? But just not a woman who cares about you and like don't want that shit just like
I mean,
fester on your
it
screen.
does-
But okay,
that's-
Okay.
Well, like
you
Bam,
do
right?
you.
Well,
You
just
do
hold on,
you.
no. I'll treat a woman the same way I'll treat a man. Just like Bam asked me for like 2 years for mod, right? You can ask for 2 years and then you'll get mod. That's not a problem.
I mean, I've been asking for the last year, but okay, so I guess I got
Well,
another one on.
you're
One more
halfway
to go. One more to go.
And Prime hates women. It may take you an extra. 30.
No, but not true. But that's
Okay,
true.
I'm Muslim too. Woo!
I
Shit.
They never get
Another one against me.
Wow. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
let's
The
start us up
betrayal's
to you.
real. All right, let's jump into it. Hey everyone, this is All Black Everything round two, which we have not since a long time on Thursdays 8 p.m. Eastern. We've got a great group of individuals here. Hopefully we'll have more. But people have some scheduling conflicts. But we'll see. Some of them said they might be a little later, or maybe not at all. We'll find out. But even so, oh yeah, I gotta do this for Bam. He's gonna get highly upset. All right, there you go.
Appreciate it.
But we got a great group, so we're gonna enjoy our time with them. Sorry, my man, Bam. Bam, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just living the dream over here in Mod World. First of our kind. I am Prime's favorite. I don't care what he says. He told me. He ranked us. He said I was first in his heart. This is among the white people too.
Oh,
So, no, it's fun being here. I think this will be a nice little discussion.
Hey, let's go with my man, Walter. Hi, how are you, friend?
Glad to be back again. Glad I was able to make it on time, even though I have a longer commute now since I finally got a promotion. So
congrats.
it's been a good week.
Thanks for being here, friend. Well, I mean, I didn't start the show for like like a half hour. Wait, so you had some time on you. But thank you for being here. Next, my man Azzy, right? Looking snazzy all the time. How you doing?
Okay.
Let me do my Anthony Mackie.
Is he known for staring? I don't know. Is that a thing that he does?
He's known because he has this way of like smiling that look like he knows somebody's dark secret.
Yeah.
You got the lip.
I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be here. You know, it's I'm a little thrown off because I learned somebody around here got a promotion, and not the promotion that shout out to Sakai, but that's not the promotion I'm talking about. I'm hearing Bam over here slinging around authority, and that's like I'm a little taken aback. I'm like, whoa, okay. I don't know how I feel about this one, but hey, let's see if he can
Mute him, Bam. Mute him right now.
Let's see if he can take this authority.
That'd be funny.
And I ain't afraid. I ain't afraid of you. I ain't scared of you. Got a little badge, right? Got a little sword, but you still whacking the combos. Let's see if you still see if you can hold your own to you. All right, appreciate it. Let's go. Let's get it.
And finally, last but not least, I have a friend, DQ. Nice to have you, DQ.
Oh, thank you. But I'm no longer DQ. My name is Malikat, which still means queen. But I will let you be the only one who still calls me DQ.
Okay.
But
Well, thank
so you should feel real lucky.
I do.
Real lucky. But forever the debate queen in my heart. Hello, everyone. I am so grateful to be here and to be black and to be back.
Okay.
Can you pronounce it again? Milikat?
Milikaat.
Milikat.
Mila.
What
Yeah,
language is
so
that?
it's a form of, so if you do Malika in Arabic, Malika means queen. So if you just add another A and a T, technically means queens, but you can still simplify it out to be queen.
Okay.
So Millie Rock.
Millie Rock?
I'm sure you don't have to answer, but now I'm gonna, like, in my head, I'm gonna imagine your name is Malika, but it may not be. But okay.
Fine.
Okay.
Like, again, y'all could Google this, and Google has a wonderful thing where you can go on the website and it will tell you how to pronounce things. You can do it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Well, thanks so much. Let's go. Let's go to the topic at hand. And just to anyone in chat, thank you. Oh, Wolf Glenn for subbing. Take care of your skin. Wolf Glenn says. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Bam. Thank you for gifting that sub. Thank you for being here. And thank you, if you're still there, Vexy Vortex, for trying to participate in that name the black superhero thing. But all right, that's weird. Okay, I just saw something weird. All right, well, we're moving on for our lives. But thanks all for being around. If you are enjoying the content so far, we're just chilling now. But if you enjoy the content, consider supporting the channel. Helps the channel get bits or give subs. Get app reviewing. Get our emotes and keep us up and running. Also, if you're on YouTube, consider a super chat. That would be a true hope. So let's read the topic. Into it. The Marvel actor Anthony Mackie is being dragged online for a clip of him speaking about how he raises his sons. In the clip, which is only a small piece of a wider interview, he stresses the importance of raising boys to be men. He also says that society has undermined what it means to be male. Some have interpreted his comments to be anti-LGBT and sexist. Others feel like this type of parenting puts far too much pressure on boys. What do you think? Does Mackie sound like a good father? Were you raised in this way? Would you want to raise your children this way? Or do you foresee problems, such as boys not being able to experience childhood? Okay, so to the audience, right? It's not a very long clip, but like basically what he's saying is that, like my boys, when they're raised to be respectful, so they answer yes sir. Oh, you wanna? Okay, you just put it up on screen.
It's short enough that I was going to ask you beforehand,
Yeah.
but yeah, if it was okay to just play it. Let me know if y'all have sound.
I keep my boys humble.
Oh, hold on. Pause
Pause
for a second.
Oh, okay.
We getting a double from.
Oh,
That was me. I muted.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Start over again if you could, please.
okay.
I keep my boys humble. Like my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. My boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I don't give I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he's going to straighten the other ones out. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open the door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night. This alarm is on. You text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Hold up.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the clip. Again, this is a small part of a larger interview. And it got a strong reaction from people online. Some people are fine with it. Others are saying that Right, yeah, this puts a lot of pressure on boys, or that this is in some ways anti-LGBT, LGBTQ, um, and that I don't know, some level of sexism. So we'll discuss it, right? We'll talk about how people feel about that, and maybe even so. We can talk about how you feel about the clip itself, but also how you feel about the reaction to the clip, right? Like, and what that says about our society. So we'll go down the line. Bam.
So I this clip and this interview as a whole actually added a level of respect I have for Anthony Mackie. I do believe there's something unique about I don't know if I don't know if you call it American masculinity, but unique about masculinity and um the way that it feels. It does feel differently. It does feel different when it's portrayed. Um I think that we should I think that when dealing with children, particularly young boys, I think parenting is about I guess portraying your values or implementing your values into some young one and on what you want to see them as growing up. I don't believe anything that he mentioned was necessarily toxic. I think there can be pressure and expectations there, and I think that that's something worthy of discussion. But his definition of man wasn't about being braggadocious or gravitas. It was about saying that you are respectful. You should see yourself as a protector of your family and your mother, the ones around you. And you I don't know. Yeah, you just don't act stupid. You hold yourself to a standard, and I think that I'm sure that girls can benefit from a lot of these teachers as well. But I don't know. I just don't think that that was the purpose of it. I don't even know if he has a daughter, but he was just speaking of it in the context of him and his boys. That's all I got.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go. Water Kai.
So I don't really take a lot of issue with what he said, but at the same time, the one part I don't agree with is the whole if someone busts through the window or busts through the door, you expect your kid to take care of that. That's something that's kind of out of the question. But in reality, I think these things shouldn't be gendered. I think if you instill values in your children, they're going to protect what they value. So the same as I would want to protect my mom or my father, I would think in the case of my sister with her daughter would want to protect her. So you're not going to just sit there and see someone you care about be harmed and just do nothing about it. So I don't think these things should be gendered in that way. And to say like it's a masculine trait or feminine trait just isn't there. If you have something that you value, you are more than likely going to protect it. But otherwise, I don't think it was anti LGBTQ. He actually got into that in the interview and he was very pro LGBTQ and was talking about gay roles that he's played and feels like he did a great job at. So like I don't think there was anything particularly to call out in that beyond like your kid shouldn't be your guard dog.
Azzy.
Yeah, I think even the comments on gender kind of proves his point, where the American male was a very gendered role. The American male instilled like a level of and you could hear like the subtle like qualities of stoicism, right? Humility, respect, duty, being a gentleman. Like a lot of that has kind of like been watered down over time. And I think even the reaction to it very much proves his point, right? Where we've so like there's this open animus where if you even say anything that brings up any type of trauma to somebody, right? Now it's like, oh, he's being toxic, right? I couldn't even grow up like I saw you one of the clips I couldn't grow up. I think one of the clips was like, growing up in a house with a man like that seems like insufferable or something like that, suffocating. And I was like, yo, dude, what are you talking about? And it shows that there is a decline and a disrespect of what an American male was at the time, right? And I'll land on that.
DQ.
Um, I don't think I don't like the way that he has framed the American male as like a way to describe like what he's doing as like a form of masculinity. I think that in general, that's just a form of masculinity, point blank and period. What he was saying very much reminds me of military kids, like military brats. And so, like, if you're a military kid, like if you're a military brat, especially men, right? Especially the men, right? You grow up in that type of household, it can be very insufferable, right? But there's also like a way to be like, and I hope that he's just having those conversations with his kids, and I feel like he is, right? Like there are like you shouldn't necessarily like. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. Because I'm gonna go all a bit deep in it. Let me just leave it there. Don't think about it as American male. Just think of it as masculinity in general. And like I have no issues with what he said, except him just like putting the American male instead of just being like masculinity in general.
So I guess I hear what you're saying there, at least the very last point, in that like I think this is just a form of masculinity, right? Um, I don't think, but I don't think this he was like necessarily trying to invalidate other forms of masculinity. Like at least that's not what I got. Though I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. But like I don't think he was necessarily trying to do it. He's just saying, hey, this is how I'm raising my children. And like honestly, like raising young boys, right? Like it's so easy for boys to go off on the wrong path, especially, he talked about his own celebrity, right? And
And we
how
also
like
say young black boys. It put apostrophe on that one specifically.
sure, fair enough, yeah. But like he was also talking about how his celebrity would rebound to his children. And he's saying, like, no, you can't get in your heads that you're anything special, right? Don't go acting a fool just because like um you're my son. I mean, like, I'm not sure if you guys saw this was happening while I'm not sure you guys saw Michael Jordan's son got arrested. Now Michael Jordan's son gets into trouble apparently all the time. I'm just learning this about him, right? But he was driving somewhere and he had this woman in his car and he he was intoxicated and he like drove onto the train tracks like and got like
Oh
deep far
no.
into the train and then he couldn't get his car off and then now like there's like a video of him and like and the cops like trying to handle the situation. They like arresting him. He's like, "Get my car off the tracks!" Right? And then he's like, "Oh, I'm Michael Jordan's son, right? Don't you know who I am?" He did one of those things, right? This is a guy who's also been like caught like doing cocaine. Like they got pictures of him doing cocaine shit. Like
Oof.
he's got like a whole thing. And like so, I think Anthony Mackie, right? If I was him, I'd see these things. I'm like, not my boys, right? And I could see him thinking, "Oh, I gotta be even harder." I don't know how Mackie himself grew up, right? But I could see him saying, "I gotta be even harder on them than I grew up because I can't let them be that way." So, like, yes, you're gonna say, "Yes, yes, sir, thank you, ma'am," right? I see. I don't do that in my household. I say yes and no. I answer my parents whenever they refer to me, but I've never did it like that. But like I can see like this extra precautions. Hey, I gotta regulate these kids, so they don't go off on the wrong path because it's so easy to go on the wrong path. It's just so hard. It's just like the chances are so little, that you'll stay on the straight and narrow. I'll leave it there.
No, I agree. I think that there's about to say in the very next segment of the interview, past what he was saying there. I wouldn't say he's negatively speaking about other people, but he does differentiate the
Okay.
American masculinity from because he was going on to say that like whenever he's international, he said you can feel the difference you said between American. He said when you're dealing with an American man and other men, he said it feels different. He said we walk different. He said we have a different swagger. He said I don't understand. He said I don't know what it is, but he said it's not like
Yeah, I've
everywhere else in
heard
the
that
world.
many times before, but I don't. I've
Mhm,
like I for a person who actually has been abroad,
mhm,
I don't necessarily see that.
mhm.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but Just
I've only been the country once now, but so I don't know
Again,
either.
I think that just harps back to him and his being a black male. I don't think that he relates it necessarily as seeing it as male. I don't think that like he's put that two and two together per se. Because if he would have, he wouldn't have framed it as such, right? He would have just been like, being a black male does this. Like, I have to keep my children in check. Shit was different growing up when he was around versus like now, and everyone's got the motherfucking internet, right? Like, you got to keep your kids in check. You got to make sure that they're doing right. You got to make sure that, like, there's just so much shit that a lot of parents just don't do, right? Or a lot of things that they don't instill, right? And I think that's also like a way to like even raise young men to not do like sexual assault or like do those things, like, right? Like, because that can be very well taught in the home as well as it could be in school, right? In some countries, right? But it's like you gotta take two for two right there, right? And I just don't think he's seeing it. Like, he is a black man. His children will be black men. They will only be seen as such and nothing more.
So
Sad
he
to
was
say.
saying that he grew up in a rough area and like his mom died when he was younger. He saw his homie die in front of him, and if he had stayed where he was any longer, he probably wouldn't be alive. So instilling the values in his kids to not end up in that position and to think a certain way about life, I think is good. I don't think kids need to have like, valuable items on them and other crazy things for
Yeah,
status
no
symbols.
one needs 100 pairs of Jordans because they knew and your daddy can fucking afford them.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
he's doing a good thing, but I think all the same, like saying sir and ma'am when in public to figures of authority is something girls and boys can both do. And I would say if that's the kind of household you want to have, instill that in your children. I don't really have anything against that. But he did say when he runs across European dudes, he's like, I could just smack them.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was talking about he was gendering it in a way where it was like the American male has been sissified. Your jeans too tight. Look like I'm gonna run up on you and like knock
did
you
he say
upside your
that?
head.
I didn't see
I
that
think he
part.
did say that. I think he said that
Yeah,
literally.
you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it with further context. Right? And a lot of people didn't want like you would know that he's not anti-LGBTQ, but he was anti-sissified, you know, anti self-indulgent, anti lack of self-control, anti cowardly male, right? And he's saying that the American man has become opposite of somebody and duties for the family, somebody who doesn't have humility, like a Michael Jordan's son, somebody who doesn't have self-control, somebody with who's a coward, or self-respect, right? And he also gendered it as well. He was like, listen, you gotta take care of your women because that's when a man is supposed to take care of the women in their family. A man is supposed to provide, a man is supposed to protect, right? So he was gendering it. So it's like a stoic, like I said before, he was alluding to a form of a stoic man, and that the American male has so slowly reared off from that image. Like,
And
yeah,
is
you're not.
that a positive?
So
No,
that's what
that's not
his
what.
argument is. He thinks it.
I was
Like I
just
said,
wondering from Azzy's point of view if it was a positive. I completely understand what he's talking about.
What do you mean by that? What do you?
you
Why?
think it's
What do
positive
you
that
mean?
we've
What's your intent behind that
gone away
question?
from that.
I was just wondering, like, do you think the stoic male figure of like the John Waynes and stuff that was the American male archetype is a positive?
Yeah, they were positive because you felt safe around those men. You were they were alluring, right? You
But were
felt
you though
protected.
as a woman?
You
Yeah.
felt like you
Not
went.
always.
Well, it depended on the type of woman you were. Like if you were the awkward.
There's
I
no
don't think that's
depending
the
on
right
what type
answer
of
to that.
woman. Yeah.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
the right answer to that question,
No.
Essie. But
No, if you're
I
talking
understand.
about somebody who's like overly, who are like, because the stoicism also speaks to emotional openness and reflection,
Well,
but that's not
I
what
mean, a
was.
lack of that. That's. I mean, is that what you're
That's
saying?
not stoic. That's like hard. the hard
Being
man.
stoic
I think people use those
is
words
a
interchangeably.
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
people,
yeah, I can see.
when someone describes someone really stoic, they're typically
Yeah.
describing someone who isn't very emotional.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, I hear what you are saying, that the people's typical idea of stoicism may not exactly match like the actual definition. I hear that, right? I understand what you're saying. But when people think of stoicism, just like Bam said, right, like they're thinking of a person who is, emotionless. A part of it is the lack of emotion. But sorry, go ahead, Bam.
mhm. I know. I just think that that's the conversation. I think that we're already at a impasse. We're at a, well, I wouldn't say impasse, but we're at a disagreement right here.
Okay,
On
but
um,
no, emotionally regulated, right? Where you're not overly emotional, but then we take that and we say no emotions at all, or don't know how to show your emotion.
Sure, that's
Yeah,
where you get the
no,
fresh
that's
and
what it
fit
is.
types from. But I'm saying that like I'm saying that even if we're using a positive definition or whatever definition we want to use, like I think that me and you as it, because like I said I lean more towards you. I think that American society has lost the sense of pride that comes with being a man. The pride of like I don't. I guess it falls under definite masculinity, but the concept of um a man's responsibilities. I think society has veered away from a lot of these things and these expectations. Like, why are we placing these pressure and expectation on our boys to be this image of men because some men aren't able to live up to it, and that like creates a lot of like traumas in itself. But I'll there's if we deal with like Kai and Queen, like I said, they would probably say that society has benefited from men going away from that image. That some elements of it are toxic masculinity. And
Yeah, I would agree.
I wouldn't say y'all they're necessarily wrong for saying that. I think there's aspects of it. I think the the portrayal of it, the concept of acting in a certain way, like I guess the aesthetic of it is a better word. I don't think that that's necessarily necessary. I don't think that's necessary, but I think that the principles of it that Anthony Mackie spoke to are really really valuable, and I think that the aspirations towards it are valuable. I think it's a good thing to tell a young boy that you're going to be a man someday, and then there's things that come with that, and you should have expectations. You should take a pride in that. But nowadays, if you hear someone telling their 14-year-old son, like be a man, most people are probably going to wince at that. They're probably going to think that there's some negative externality.
Even younger than that, if you're telling your 10-year-old be a man, nigga, they're still kid. They're still a kid
I mean, we
at the
have
end of the
some
day.
pretty negative things that come from that. You look at Blueface asking his kid what his sexuality is, bringing strippers and other things in because there's a certain
Mm.
That's
expectation of
disgusting.
manliness that's just pretty disgusting. Yeah, you're a man. Whether or not you are a homosexual man or a straight man, you're still a man.
Mm.
That's not going to go away from you. And you can still stand up for the values that you hold, no matter what your orientation or how you direct your manliness. You're still a man. So trying to tell people they're not a man because they don't fit a certain archetype
Yeah.
is emasculating to men. So then you look
Yes.
at the negativity that comes along with the ideas of men being stoic and men keeping their emotions. You have mental health issues that go unchecked in men, where we're offing ourselves at
But you won't
extreme
have
rates. Our
mental health
education
issues.
suffer.
No, mental health means emotionally unregulated. There is a psychological factor where you are unstable in some way. If you are stoic, you can't have a mental health problem.
Oh Lord. Yes, you can.
I don't
No,
know,
Nigga,
man.
because no,
what?
stoicism
What?
means
No,
What?
I
stoicism.
understand what
And
Ed
this
is
is
trying to
what I
say. He's
mean. Like
saying something like
the conversation.
necessarily,
No,
like
no,
by
the conversation.
definition.
Well, no, not even the definition. The true meaning of it, which has been lost because of
Okay, by
American
definition.
media and the toxicity of the overcorrection, right, in certain communities, right, against like, oh, don't be a sissy, right, or the sexuality where we confuse like your gender expression with your sexuality, right? Because there's a lot of stoic gay men who would run up on you and you can't tell right until he gay, right? There's a lot of men who like talk like your dad, right, from the 60s 70s, but he gay. So stoicism has nothing to do with sexuality. There's a lot of conflation and confusion where now when you think of the word stoic, because it's been portrayed in a certain way, right? And people tend to rear towards the most extreme forms of things, which aren't really in its genuinity. I don't even know if I said that word right.
Probably not.
Not a
But
word, but it's okay. It's genuine.
yeah, it's in its like in its wholeness. Stoicism means emotional regulated, where you have the ability to be the lion when it be tough, not cry in front of your kids, but it's okay to cry when somebody dies or you are fully
Well, hold
emotionally
on,
open towards
but he
crying.
even then, I want to push back against that because I think you should be able to cry for your kids. I don't think that's an unhealthy
But
thing.
you can't cry when it's time to fight.
Well, no, hold on, but that's different, hold on. Let's not mix things up, right? So you're
That's
saying,
what I mean. No, no,
well,
no. That's what I
no,
mean.
no.
So what
Yeah,
are you
but hold
saying?
on, but herein lies the problem, right? Herein lies the problem, is that I understand what you're trying to build, the type of man you're trying to build here, Azzy, right? And I don't disagree. I think this is, I think the thing that you're doing, or you're laying out is overall a positive, right? So I'm not pushing back against that. However, the process of actually building that type of man is actually quite fraught. And so like it leads to, while people say, hey, I want like a man who can, handle tough situations, right, and not fall apart, right, which is what you're saying, right? Like the way that people try to engineer that is to say, hey, like don't cry, right? Don't cry in front of others, or to be, you got to be tough, right? You got to be able to handle these, and like it teaches boys to push down their emotions. Again, I know that's not what you're trying to say, not what you're trying to push for, but I think that for the most of the rest of the population, when they're trying to do exactly what you're saying, they create those types of men accidentally.
Because they were in they were in the presence and taught by very insecure men who were only about the perspective and the not perspective, the they're trying to have this aesthetic of this strong man and this man of strength and courage, right? So it's this ideal, but it's not the reality. Where, like, for instance, you're not the man the moment calls you to be, right? And that's like, and I'm quoting, like, if you ever heard of a guy named Jason Wilson, right? Who grew up in the hood, right? I think if Joe ever shows up, Joe knows who I'm talking about. And I post his stuff in like in our chats, right? Matter of fact, I'll post it in the just so we know.
Yeah,
He
the
tells
kung
young
fu
boys,
dude.
okay, yeah, it's okay to cry, but you got to get that emotion out so that you can be in the moment. There's a lot of we've taken things that were good and we've twisted it to the point where you're saying it's flawed to become a stoic man. I totally disagree. It's just that people have taught it wrong.
No, that's
Right?
what
I
I'm
think
agreeing with you.
I
As
see that's what he's saying.
it has a
Yeah.
Because
lot
there's
to do with
plenty of men
tactics.
that I
Like,
know and that you know, right? Or you've been in the vicinity of people who you would think that they are stoic men.
Azzy, I'm agreeing with you. I think we're like saying similar things, right? You're saying that they've taught it wrong. That's what I agree. I agree. I think that a lot of it appears like people think like, okay, they see the image, the aesthetic, right, of a man who's tough, right? And like from the movies, right? Like they can see that tough guy, and they want a tough guy child, right? They think this is the best way to be a man. But like you're saying, they're not actually like walking the proper like balance here between that, like, hey, that not telling their kids that you have to be emotionless. Of course you have to feel your emotions. I'm agreeing with you here, but I'm saying that like um it's such a tough line that I think so many people, because they don't have that role model, like you're talking about, that perfect role model, that they're more likely to screw up like the lessons to their boys rather than like find that balance that you're talking about.
I'm about to say the average person, at least now in America, the average person like definition of like manliness and masculinity and by average I mean more than 50%, just based on the election results and stuff, are going to lean towards the like Andrew Tate type, the red pill, the fresh and fits. They were like, oh, these are stoic men, these are masculine men, these are like.
I'm not sure if they would
It's
call
tox-
it.
it's toxic. It's
Hey,
toxic
stoic.
masculinity.
Like,
That's all toxic masculinity.
Sure,
And
but
then
but most people
then
think
you
that.
have a caveat. You have a caveat too, where some stoicism does like require toxic masculinity. Those are two and two go hand in hand together, as well, right? But I just think that I do have a question for all y'all. How many of y'all were raised to like taught not to cry or not to show your emotions? Were any of y'all taught that?
Yeah, at a young age. I
I
think,
mean-
but I think it's like, I don't think it was like a long term, like, oh, never cry thing. I think it was something that happened with and I can only base it off of what I have. My dad ended up dying while I was still pretty young, but I mean, it happens. It's life. People go through things. But when I was younger, I remember there was like a part of like my growth with my dad was like, oh, like he wanted to toughen me up in a lot of ways, and was told not to cry and things like that. But I don't know if that was from like a phase of toxic masculinity or a phase of children really do cry about a lot because children don't know how to process information. Like when you're talking about like 6 and 7 year olds, like something like, oh, my picture didn't turn out how I wanted it to. And now I'm like, I feel frustration and I don't know how to deal with that emotion. So it's coming out in tears. And then so there's like, oh, you don't have to cry about this. Like on one element, you could say like, oh, it's toxic, you're denying their emotions. On the other way, you could say that like you're trying to give them more direction or more control. Oh yeah, over their emotions. Like there's other ways to react to this outside of that.
Yeah.
No crying.
And that's where I disagree, because then you're telling essentially both sexes not to like do that. But like, yes, emotional regulation is important, but like you do that through showing your emotions and telling and teaching your kids that it is okay to cry. There are times and places and other times, like, you have to show that emotional regulation, because not every kid gets that emotional regulation and they turn out as shit people.
I mean, yeah.
I wouldn't disagree. I
That's
think
what
it's commonplace.
Yeah, like I hear what Bam is saying. I've never raised a child before, but like I can imagine like my child like crying over something. And I'm like, okay, this is not something worth crying about. Like I understand that you feel upset, but this isn't something worth crying about. Like and you got to learn how to deal with these things. This is like a one of life's basic disappointments. And it's about time that you learned how to deal with that. Now there are things to cry about. Little
Let kids cry.
Jr., but like
let kids cry. That's all I'm saying. Let kids cry.
But I know, but no, actually, but like I'm hearing what Bam is saying, and like I imagine if I was a parent, actually at some point, no, I can't let you cry. Actually, at some point, I got to say, hey, all right, you got to knock this off, right? Like, I understand that you feel upset about this thing, right? But this thing in particular is not worth crying about. So like knock it off, right? Like
I mean, get listen. I mean, except for Kai, I mean, Bam, I don't know if you have any kids now, but as the person who has technically put a hand in raising children, like you can't do that. There is no like, you gotta put this shit back in the bottle. You can't say knock it off. No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. When you are a child, when I'm telling you, when you were a child, this is the way that you understand it. And now talking through your feelings, that is a great way to like be like, okay, this is showing emotional regulation. All right, why are you crying? Like you got to be able to like
you can do that
tell
too.
them or show them and stuff
exclusive.
like that. But like, no, I do because I feel like you're making it mutually exclusive.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. You can do both.
Because talk
like
about it, now I think it comes to like, what age do you tell a kid, hey, knock it off?
So it wouldn't be at 5 years old, probably. Like I would say like 6, 7. Well, not 6,
I wouldn't even say 6 or 7.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would say like there's a time where like, oh, okay, I think even at 5, like there's levels of conversations. Like,
there's levels of conversation.
you feel off your back, like you're sad, yeah. Like, you don't just say that like, oh, okay, your feelings are valid. Like, kids don't know what that means. You say like, oh,
No,
you're sad,
I mean,
you feel up, you want to try again. Like
you show the validity by you being there as a parent, by you saying, "Okay, I understand why you're crying. All right, cool. Like it like we'll get out this feeling. You're telling me what you're feeling. All right, cool." And then they go back to it. That's showing good emotional regulation. That's showing the fact that like you can talk about your feelings and you can feel freely about your feelings, right? And that's also before you go to motherfucking school, like too, which fucking school like has a whole nother level added thing because you're coming at everybody's to like instilling different things in their children and then that falls out in the playground. Sorry, it's that pin on that, right? But it's like you have to be able to have those conversations with your children. Like it is hard. It is not easy to see your kids cry.
But we're
For
not
any reason, for
denying
not
We're
that.
any
not.
reason. But you,
yeah,
We're
no
not.
one's
but I
no
mean,
one
like
said
at
that you can
10,
never cry.
right? I'm like at 10, 11, 12, I'm like, okay, you got to knock this shit off, right?
Oh,
But
okay. So
under
there is an
that,
age.
right? Right. That's what I'm saying. There is an age, right? You can be like, okay, you're 10, 11, 12. Like you're starting to really get it. Like you should already know, right? But
Well,
if
yeah, hold
you've
on.
instilled
If
that, but if
So
you've
what
you
age
instilled
say,
does
that
that
in
start?
your
but hold on, but
child,
if you say
then
but hold on, Queen, think about it. You saying at 10, 11, 12, right? You're saying you should already know, meaning this lesson should have already been instilled in you, meaning you have to start earlier than 10, 11, 12 to actually get them
no,
there.
that's not what I'm saying. If you're telling your kid knock it off because of like they fucking did some dumb shit and you're like, okay, like you knew you did some dumb shit. Like this was not okay. That's a conversation where you're like, this is not okay, and this is why. Then now you can take a different approach to that versus when you were younger than that and you had to take a different approach. Now, these like ways of being emotionally available and showing that so your child can be emotionally available is something that has to be taught because that's part of emotional regulation.
But even
But
crying is technically a top
telling
behavior.
somebody
I heard that's why Bob, I'm about to say you can go jump right to you, Azzy. I think like crying itself is a top behavior. Babies don't necessarily cry out of like a understanding of sadness and emotion. Babies cry at an early age because they learn that this is how I get reactions from my parents. Oh, I'm hungry. I don't know how to speak, but I know if I cry, I eventually get food, or I need to be burped. If I cry, I eventually get the reaction that they tend to me when I do that. Like, so I feel like even at young ages, again, it doesn't have to be. I think Prime would acknowledge it was an oversimplification and just say knock it off. But it was just
Yeah.
saying that like, oh, okay, there's like let's deal with what the actual issue is. Like I understand, like, because kids throw tantrums, kids throw like cry over things. Like the term crying over spilled milk come from a real place. Like there's things that's like, oh, okay, they're crying because that's the only emotion that they have a young like their emotional spectrum is still developing. So it's your job to help develop it. You're like, oh, okay, sometimes people make mistakes, but we don't have to cry about that.
Yeah.
There's other things we can do. Sometimes things that happen that we're frustrated. Oh,
Yeah.
your sister it won't let you watch your TV channel. Like that's not something to cry about. We talk about it. She's gonna watch hers now. You're gonna watch hers later. That work, like that's how you deal with those things. You don't just sit there and let them cry because it's like I'm just letting them experience their emotions.
Yeah, but you do sometimes. It's important to let kids sit and like and validate their emotions.
like
Straight up.
even in
But no,
that,
sometimes
that
their
can be
emotion.
traumatizing too.
Yeah, so
Because
not all emotions
even
are
Kai
valid.
posted this video,
If your
and I've
kid is
seen this video
crying,
before.
it doesn't matter why they're crying.
No,
There's a
no,
reason
no.
why.
Not all
Like,
emotions are valid, right? Like if you
all
got
emotions are valid.
no,
That's
hold
saying
on.
that's saying like I'm not going to like validate any of your emotion because you're a grown ass adult. Because whatever you feel, right?
Greed and jealousy can be an emotion, right? And like, hey, you gave my younger sibling, right, something that I didn't get, right? Well, yeah, we could talk about it, but hey, like that doesn't mean that like your feelings on this like override reality. That like, hey, like I understood like you feel some type of way, but one, you're not gonna be throwing a tantrum over this, right? Like I gave this doll to your sister, and she deserves that, and you can't take it from her, right? You can't do all the there's all kind of nonsense that
crying
kids
is
do.
Now,
exactly
Like,
what you
that
want.
just shows now that what you're giving in that example, you're just like, okay, you're being mad, you're doing this, you're stealing. Okay, that sounds like a fucking timeout minute. Like, you go if you want to go cry, you don't like how I'm like doing it, then go sit
but you
and
can,
cry in
but
the
yeah, but
corner
like part
and
of the
like
thing could
for
be
5 minutes
and like
because like
I
you
feel
took your
angry, and so
like
I'm going to like so like if their emotion is anger and they act out on their anger, right? Like their emotions aren't valid, right? I'm sorry,
then
like we
you
can't
after that
validate
timeout, for
everything.
instance, right? If you after that timeout, you go up there and be like, hey, like this is why, like, do you understand? Like, can you not make sure to do that? That's the thing to do.
Hold on, so you're saying, but then you can do that,
I'm just
right? But you can't tell them,
specifically
hey,
giving.
you
I'm
gotta
just
knock
specifically
off.
giving. I'm saying specifically giving your example of saying like, hey, my sister took my doll away from me, so now I'm like gonna cry, like I did it out of anger or whatever. I felt jealous, whatever. And then you're like, okay, at that point, that sounds like a timeout. That sounds like a correction.
But
That
hold
sounds
on,
like a
whatever
timeout.
you're hold on. But then what you're doing there is saying that like you're giving out a punishment. Like, hey, you're acting out, right? And you're correcting them. So one way or the other, you're saying the thing they're doing right that second is wrong. That's not validating what they're doing.
But it is validate, okay, because you're not listening. After they've like been at their timeout, so you give them a 5-minute timeout, right? You go up there, you talk to them. Do you understand why? Do you understand why it's not okay? Can we like,
Yeah,
try to work
why what you
towards
did was
doing
not
that?
valid.
Like, right. But no, I didn't say anything about their feeling. I didn't say anything about their feelings, right? I said, do you understand why you knew it wasn't okay? Do you understand why, like, mama put you here? Right? And it's
But
like, okay,
prom
no,
doesn't
this
valid.
is
There's no talking
why.
about feelings.
But
He's
like,
talking about actions.
you
I
still
understand.
have to talk to them about these things. It's important because if you don't, you just send them timeout and they
Right.
don't
Like if a
understand
kid's
why.
feeling jealous about
You
like in
conflated
general
so
about
many
their
things.
sorry, go on. You go first,
Where
Sassy.
if we tell somebody to stop crying, that's us talking to them about the emotion. And
It's
then
not.
you're saying you can't tell them to not cry? What? Crying
It's
is
not. You're just saying,
the
hey, knock it
expression of the
off,
emotion.
right? But like, you have to be like, okay, but understand, like, why are you crying? Why do you feel like you're crying? Why are you feeling like you're
You
crying?
don't
You
always
gotta
have
let
time
the
to
kids
no,
let them
hold
talk.
on.
You gotta tell them that and be like, okay, well, it was
Okay,
right or
I
not, but either way,
listen,
I'm
Queen.
validating how you're feeling.
Malika. Or how you say it? I
Yeah,
gotta look it up.
Go Google.
Just
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up again.
Malika.
Malikat, right?
You can just call me
let's
Queen.
just go. Just keep
I
going,
allowed you to
please.
speak. I listened to it.
Yeah.
Me telling a kid not to cry is the sped up version of me talking to them about their emotions, especially if I already know the reason why they're crying. I don't need you to explain something to me, right? If I already know the reason. It's like when you're dealing with kids as a teacher, right? I know why you did what you did. And then a lot of the times I'll allow them to speak and I tell them, you know how silly that sounds when you say it out loud, right? When you could have just listened to me initially, right? Like sometimes you just got to straight up be firm and say no. Because a lot of times all that talking doesn't make them feel better, it just makes them feel vindicated. I don't need to vindicate you on every single feeling you have. Because sometimes even that is disrespectful, right? Sometimes where I am now placating you in order to get you to listen to me.
Yeah.
And you can only do that, like I only do that if I know I'm trying to gain ground with somebody and I have things to spare and I got time to do it. But I'm not gonna placate my kid all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna tell them, yo, you need to chill out. And I'm gonna put my foot down. Because sometimes a lot of those feelings, like I said, we already understand why they're doing it. And
You
we know the
understand
place it's
why.
coming from is a negative, oftentimes it is a negative, self-serving reason why they are crying.
And that's how you have good emotional regulation, by talking to them, by telling them why, by having them understand their feelings. That's how you do that.
Yeah, I lean towards
Like,
Queen here. I
When you
think a
got time to do
conversation,
it.
and most of the, I understand you're not going to be able to do it every time, but like especially if it becomes a repeated offense. But I think whenever kids are upset, I think it is important. Like I said, because I don't think kids can fully understand their emotions. I think that's a lot of time why it ends up in like uh, fits or crying or whatever from a misunderstanding of what they're feeling. So I think conversations can be really important for helping them to process and understand their emotions. But that doesn't mean like just because I'm having a conversation about it doesn't like invalidate me telling you like, hey, quit all that, and then we can talk about it. Like,
And the adult doesn't
is
always
that
have to explain
yeah?
themselves.
You're frustrated. Yeah, I get frustrated too. Like, but what we're not gonna do is throw your chair or stomp our feet or scream till our hair blows up. That's not a proper reaction to that. And and you can even go further and say like that, like you're gonna be a man one day, even if you want to say that. And there's like you have to learn how to process these things.
Yep, your
And
emotions, your feelings, because the whole world will be against you. And you
Yeah,
got it,
hun-
and that's like saying,
Even that,
black people are kind of have racism. We've all had that
but
racism
hold
talk
on.
when we were
The
younger.
problem
Same
DQ,
thing.
the problem DQ is that you're acting like these things are mutually exclusive. So I had acknowledged all of that. I said, "Hey DQ, your points are valid, right?" But then I added, at some points in times, like one, as we said, like you don't all the time have the ability to do that, right? Sometimes you gotta say, "Cut it out." Knock it off, right? Whatever you're up to,
especially in
knock it
public,
off
you're in
because we
like a
understand.
grocery store, like
Yeah, I mean, certainly in public, but sometimes in private too, right? Like you just don't have the bandwidth for that, and it's perfectly valid for me to say to the child, "Hey, knock it off!" Like with the thing you're doing right now. But still, I think overall, right? Like the best thing to do is to talk to your child, right? And help them process, especially when the younger they are, the more talking, the better, right? Like I think that's really good for that. But at some point, like no, your feelings not necessarily valid, especially like and jealousy is just the one I'm using, but you can use anger as well, right? Where you got a child that's like constantly jealous of like the people around them. Like we could talk about it at first, but at some point, like no, I'm not like validating your jealousy. You need to knock it off, right? Like these things don't have anything to do with you. Focus on yourself and be grateful for the things that you have in your life, right? The life that we're trying to provide for you, being the parents, right? And then that's the end of it, right? Like we don't have to do this constantly with a child to just say like, oh, it's valid for you, because sometimes people are doing have negative emotions for unjustified reasons. Adults do that, kids do that.
Yeah, my girlfriend's got got a couple of nephews that are similar in age. They're both pretty young, and she just had did the first birthday for one of them that she didn't get a gift for the other one, and she was talking to me. She's like, I always get both of them a gift because I'm like, because it was like 7. I was like, you know what? You may get a weird reaction. I was like, but I'm about to say it's about that time. You can have that conversation. You understand that, like, oh, okay, this day is about your brother. And she did it, and there was a tantrum. There was a like, where's mine? There was a frustration there was tears. But like, yeah, I don't think the response would be to validate that and say that your feelings are fair. You just like talk to them and help them understand. Like, look, you have a
But
birthday.
she created the expectation in the first place. That never should have been started.
No, I think there's an age where it's too young to understand. I think it's hard to comprehend to like, for example, a 3-year-old that like, yeah, a 3-year-old at a birthday party like with toys. Like I would do the same if I had really really young kids. But I think you at a point where like, okay, this is your special day. But I would like, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't
he's
do that to
1
a
and
3 or
she's
4-year-old.
7. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it would
I'd
be
probably
much,
just say that because it's really simple to find something simple for both of them to celebrate. Like it,
Mhm.
make both of them happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then when you give room to it, you're saying it's okay. And then when it happens again, and all of a sudden it's not okay in this instance, so now you find yourself backtracking, and now you causing like some sort of cognitive dissonance in the kid, where it's like, oh, so it's
They won't
okay here, but
remember
it's
it.
not okay there. And I was like, now you got to find a way to explain yourself, and this is when you get into the terms when people don't know how to raise their kids right, right? Because they always trying to figure out the right words to say something, and you don't always have the right words. And then all of a sudden, some people get emotionally tired out as parents or as the adult or the authority. And then now you're just communicating things in the wrong way because you yourself don't have the words or you're tired.
Yeah,
And now
you don't have
you're
the
teaching
bandwidth
them how
anymore.
to be
Yeah.
improper men or improper people, right? Improper humans in the moment. And now we got to go through this healing process over and over and over again because we continuously are traumatizing over and over. It's not like it's, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but some things are unnecessary.
But I'm not gonna feel sorry for parents though. Raising children is a difficult job. Raising children is a job that the children didn't ask for. I understand that you have limits, but like some people, and no one in this conversation has referenced this, so it doesn't have to become a sticking point.
Sure.
Just an example, like some parents use that lack of bandwidth or their frustration with their kids, and it comes out physically.
Yeah.
Now you're like beating your kids because you don't want to deal with how to talk with them,
Yeah.
or the conversations are difficult. Like I said, yeah, like that. I'm not gonna give grace there because parenting's hard. Like parenting is hard. Right? You're raising a child. Like,
Yeah, but I also don't. At the
Why
same
not?
time, I hear you, but like we shouldn't set unreasonable expectations, right? That like an unreasonable expectation is that every time your child is feeling a negative emotion, right, or just is emotionally overwhelmed,
It
which
needs
happens all the
validation,
time to children, is that we have to sit down and have a conversation about it all the time, right? Like we can find a balance here, right?
yeah, that's probably
Teach them
unrealistic.
about their emotions. Give them a chart of all their feelings. Have them point to how they're feeling. So
Ooh.
easy when you start them young.
Sure.
This sounds the opposite of what Anthony Mackie's talking about. This is not raising a masculine man.
That's not
Go to your
raising
chart. Go to your
because you won't
chart.
always have you teach them to learn how to have words for what they're feeling and learn how to communicate, and they learn how to feel, right, like the full spectrum or the more spectrum than what they have for the right reasons. But I don't
Yeah.
need to allow you to feel it every single time because there's a time and place.
And
Right.
now you're bringing up the Anthony Mackie. I think I also had an issue with him. I don't know how I think you said how many sons he has, but like his oldest is 15, so that tells me somewhere in between under 15 he has two younger sons,
I
right?
thought he had said
And
3, but I could be wrong about that.
okay, so he has three, right? So he has three. So I don't know what their ages are, right? But like the way that he described like his son being like, hey, don't get dad mad, also kind of makes me feel some type of way too, right? He's like, oh yeah, like don't like follow what dad says, don't get him mad, like, right? Which can also be a bit of a fear thing, right?
I need you to express that feeling.
Subconsciously.
What do you mean feeling some type of way? I need you to be able to, let's have this moment. Let me give you room. Express
Doesn't
to
matter,
me
but I looked it up. He has 4 sons.
Oh,
Okay.
he
yeah,
has 4.
what do
Okay.
you mean by feeling some type of way? Go ahead.
Don't
Use
get
your
dad
words.
mad. Don't get dad mad. Follow what he says. Like, hey.
I
don't,
understood what he
you
meant
know?
by that. I don't think that was toxic at all. I think it's just kind of like what he said. He said if you with your first son, if you raise them with expectations, and like if you raise them with expectations, they'll kind of start parenting themselves with the other kids because they'll know how they grew up, and they'll know that like, oh, okay, I don't feel like getting it's not like he's gonna be a fight, but like dad comes in, has these crazy
Yeah.
conversations, like let's not deal with that, like just chill out, bro. Like the older sibling will absolutely try to get into like because he just don't want to F up the fun. So that'll take the game.
But it also is too, like, don't let your children
It
also.
takes a community. It takes a village.
But I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I don't have like siblings that I physically grew up with, right? But like, there shouldn't be like, oh, hey, like, go watch it. Like, there can be like, hey, watch out for your kid, right? But it shouldn't be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have this conversation with you before dad does, because, well,
I want my kids to take responsibility.
But
I
you
want my
won't.
like
right,
my
you're
oldest
right.
to
There's
take
a thing.
responsibility for
There's
the
a
younger
thing
sibling.
about taking responsibility, but I think at 15, you need to learn to mostly take responsibility for yourself and let mom and dad take responsibility for.
But that's
You
not
know,
how
the
a
younger
family
ones.
works.
Yeah.
Everybody has to look. Yeah, you got to look out for yourself, but you also got to look out for each other. And it becomes
Yeah,
this is where it's like
I
it
get
takes a
you,
village.
but like,
Sometimes your immediate family is the village. when mom and dad aren't there, the oldest is in charge, and the
Oh, I
oldest
get
should
that. I get that.
be
But if
reared in a
mom,
way that
but
the
if
parents
mom
taught.
is there, or if like dad is there, right? Like he's 15. You all remember what it was like being fucking 15? That shit was hard.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think he's saying he's got to
No,
pay
That
no,
shit
no,
was
bills
no.
and
hard.
Hold on,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need it.
He's
This
just
is why I'm
just saying,
condescending sometimes. Because what does that mean? Like, and I'm condescending on purpose, not to be mean, but because I am totally against the idea and I think it's wrong. It's being 15 is hard. Every age is hard sometimes,
I
except
get you,
unless
but like 15 is like you're getting in the world. You're kind of like trying to figure out
being
yourself,
10 is hard.
right? Like
that's
10
probably.
is
I
a
think that's
lot easier
probably
than
15 is probably the
15.
age where you decide that, like, oh, okay. Like, I think he is like transitioning into manhood. He's like, okay, you're coming to a point where maybe you'll go off to college, maybe you'll move out the house. It's kind
The
of a
world will
point
see you
where
different
Okay,
because now
okay, so
I
now
want you to
right,
figure.
right, right. You as a 15-year-old black man are always going to be treated some type of way, and you got to figure out
okay, so
how to
you keep
move in the world as a
offloading
man.
the systemic racist ideation into masculinity, which is also problematic because now we're not able to fully encompass masculinity because now we got to worry about being black boys and black men. Like, no, sometimes I'm just gonna walk out and I'm just gonna be myself.
But I think I
But the
don't think
world
the
will still see
expectations.
you as a black man, point blank and
Okay, so
period.
yeah, there's the silver lining between how people perceive you and how you perceive yourself. That's what. Okay,
Yeah,
there you
I
go. The
get you.
perception. That's what the
There
word I
you
was
go.
looking
Yeah, I got you. I
for.
got you. Right.
But
And
I
like I
can't
said,
worry about
15 is where
being
you're
a black
trying to figure
boy.
out your own self, right? And then also have to have the world put on you as well.
I don't think he
Okay.
put the world on him. I think
You can't,
the
I don't
you
think
expectations
can't
for
it's
him
not. I
were
don't think that
very.
it. I don't think that it's him putting the world on him. I think that he needs to have his son understand that like the world is going to see you different. So I think that's part of the reason why he's like, I put masculinity, American masculinity, on my sons as probably a way of protection of like the black men, how black men are
You're not
perceived
going
in
around
the world.
saying you're
I mean,
American.
sure, I don't
You're not
disagree with
telling
any of that.
kids
I'm just saying
you're
that, like,
American male. You need to act like it.
but
Right?
the
Come on.
expectations he placed on his 15-year-old were about to say we can go through them. I think they were mostly fair. He says it like, oh, okay, make sure the doors are locked before you go to sleep at night.
We got
One,
that.
probably younger than he said, if I'm not at the house, text me in the night and text me in the morning. I'm about to say that's just their personal thing. Like, okay, just make sure
Yeah.
that y'all
Take care
wake
of
up
your
Yeah,
and go
these are
to.
mom.
Yeah,
he's
make
instilling
if
in
your
Look
them
out
mom
for your
needs
virtues.
help with anything, you
siblings.
help her
Like,
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
you look
right.
out
I
for
have
your
no
siblings.
issues with that.
And then
I have no
about to say the
issues with
one that Kai got the issue of is like, oh, okay, if somebody comes in, you have to be a protector. Like, I think protector is like, oh, in reality, like, well, in the practical of like get everybody to a room and lock up and be safe. But also outside of that, at 15, as you go through puberty, like if it comes down to like a tough situation, realistically, a 15-year-old boy is probably going to be able to do more physically than his mother will. Like that's I think that's all he was speaking to as far as the protector. He said like, if he said I'm a celebrity, blah blah blah, but if somebody breaks in, like you have to be able to physically do something. And his mother has a role to play. Obviously, they're not saying go look for trouble, but he's just giving them expectation. Like, look, if I'm not here, you're the next. You have to be next in line because your mom can't. Like you at this
Yeah, but
point you're at the age.
forcing a
Yeah,
person to
but
have
that's
that dog in them when they ain't got that dog in them, you should have a plan set up. If someone breaks in, hey, you usher people this way, not get in front of the danger, not be the
Mhm.
I
protector
don't
in
think he
that way.
said that. I don't think he.
I
I don't
mean,
think
that
he
seemed
ever.
like what he
he
was saying.
said. That's exactly what he said.
Did he say get in front of the danger? Like, I think
Well,
he's just
not
saying that you
in
have a
those words
responsibility. Make
exactly.
sure your siblings, like I said, they're probably going to a room. I don't think Anthony Mackie's rich. I don't think he's gonna say go fight your life off for items, for stuff. If anything, he started off the thing by saying my kids don't own Jordans and stuff. Like he doesn't. It's not about the materials. I don't think that there's a
No, I
conversation.
think
No,
it's about
He's
protecting
saying
their
different.
mom. You are the man of the house when I'm not
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So if someone
Make
comes
sure
that's
in,
your
a
mom is
different
your
protected.
goal is to hurt us, is to hurt her. Like, yeah, you should protect your mom.
Yeah,
You
like
guys are trying to combine all these virtues into this one emotion of masculine. No, he's talking when he speaks about not owning a ton of Jordans, even though you have the means for it. That's talking about humility and self-control. When he's talking about protecting your mom, he's talking about responsibility and being courage and being a protector. He's talking about the virtue of that. So you're talking about two different things in an aspect, and we seem to be like blending them into like, okay, that's just man. No, that's a virtue, right? And there's this issue when you hear, and this is what I'm saying, these virtues have been taught wrong, and when they're taught right, you see them flourish and prosper in ways where you're like, oh, I want to be like that guy, right?
Well, I mean, but you're just saying if everyone was taught perfectly, then things would be perfect. I
even
don't
perfect.
disagree with that, but
Now,
that's
you don't even got to be perfect. You just need, when bad things happen, like Queen was saying, when bad things happen, you got to be able to communicate. Okay, that was bad. How do we do better?
well, but you're talking about like I'm understanding what you're saying. I'm saying that there's not much to respond to, like, oh, the thing they're teaching is wrong. If they taught it right, it would be right.
Yeah.
Like, but
if you teach
I'm
somebody
just
the
saying,
right
even
way
without
to
being
do
taught,
anything, they do it right. What are we saying?
not being taught, like maybe you don't have that dog in you, without even being taught, being told to be the man of the house, you may just jump into that protector role naturally, if that's what you do. But either way, there should be a plan in place for you not to put a kid in the position to have to be doing that. Like when I was a kid, I had go ahead.
No, you go first. Sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
When I was a kid, our house got broken into. There was a hole in the ceiling. I literally slept under that hole with a baseball bat. I wasn't told to. I was never told I was the man of the house. I just had that dog in me. I'm not going to expect my son to do the same thing. That may not be his lane.
Would you teach your son to do the same thing?
No, I wasn't taught to do it, and I wouldn't expect him to.
But I think maybe what we're all doing here, because, and again, I didn't see the full interview, so maybe I'm missing some I'm sure I'm missing context, but like, to be clear, I think what we're all doing is like filling in the gaps here, right?
Yeah.
We don't know exactly what he meant by protector. Does he mean that, like, if there is an armed robber comes in, like, you got to go into a shootout with them, right? Because, like, grab the family gun and, like, actually, like, trade shots with them. Maybe that's what he means. It could be, right? On the other hand, it could be what Bam said, that, like, hey, like, we got, like, a panic room. He's rich enough to have a panic room, right? We got a panic room. Like, make sure everyone's there. Your mother's there, and your siblings are there, right? Like, that's your job. You're the man of the house. You got to make sure they're all safe. It could be that, right? Or something in the middle, right? Something that we don't know. So we're just kind of like filling the gaps in, and we're with too much confidence. We're saying it's one or the other. So I'll say, so not knowing exactly what Anthony meant, right? Like, I would say that, hey, like, I would expect my son, I would want my son to be the type of person to like get his mother, get his younger siblings, right, and like put them in like a safe place, or usher them outside the house, or whatever the plan may be, right? Like, I'd want him, like, in that moment. I know it's scary, but you gotta take charge. People are relying on you, right? You and your mother. Hopefully, your mother is not an invalid, right? Like, not like I don't expect the mother to, be able to handle things herself as well, but still, like, you, like, that would be. I wouldn't want my son, or even my daughter, to be clear too. I guess we could say that as well, right? I wouldn't want them to be a burden to their mother in that moment, to like not know what to do. Oh, like, mama, please, I'm crying out.
Like, take on some responsibility. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that's what.
No, I completely agree with Prime on that. Like, you should teach your kids, whether they be male or female, how to take care of themselves when put in a messed up situation. By all means, give them as much agency as possible in those situations, but don't have expectations that they're going to put themselves in front of the danger, especially at a young age. You shouldn't have to grow up any faster than you do. Like, we're forced to grow up far faster than we should in many situations.
You should have a level of expectation where if I'm trying to instill in you a value, and you do the exact opposite, right? Now, if you're like a young kid, right, 7 years old, right? Okay, it's okay. There's a level of grace given to like a young child who may not understand. Or even if somebody makes a mistake. But if it's like purposefully you have done something opposite, that's a teachable moment where you say, hey, listen, if this happens again, you can't do that again, because in that moment, you weren't, because let's say, we're not expecting the kid to jump in front of the bullets. But if the kid is there and I've taught you to protect, you may help out in a moment. Or hey, you may not think you got that dog in you, but because you have that word in you and that value in you, you might pop up and hit somebody with a bottle, right? Or save
Yeah,
somebody
I
life
would like
in
him
the
to do
moment.
that too. If in the proper moment, if it came down to
Yeah.
it, then yeah, you got to
Now,
fight.
if you're 7 and you hide under the bed, okay. But if you're 15 and you hide under the bed and you could have grabbed a baseball bat, I'm gonna
Well,
be like, dude,
well, maybe unless like they got guns, right? And like, okay,
yeah,
maybe
unless they
there's
got
a yeah, but
but
like, I want to move on to that, like to expand on what I said previously. I'm curious what your thoughts are, in terms of girls, because obviously this has been about masculinity, we're talking about boys, right? But like, what are fair expectations for girls, right? Like, if instead, like I have either all daughters or I guess my eldest is the um is a girl, right? Like, what are fair expectations for her? Like, should like would you think it's odd if Anthony Mackie had said all that stuff about like a daughter, like his eldest daughter, like, hey, I expect you to make sure the doors are locked, right? To hit me up, like when you wake up or when you go to bed, right? Do you think it would be odd if he said all the same things? That and right, so two things. One, do you think it would be odd? And two, do you think Anthony Mackie would have been the type of man to ever say that in the first place? Right. So like we're living in a bizarre world where he has daughters, right? Do you think he would have ever said anything like that? But
I don't think he
why
would.
not?
I don't think it would be odd if he did. I think like where you said like you're the oldest, this is your responsibility. Like
Mhm.
if I end up being a girl dad for some reason, yeah, there's some things that will probably change like with parenting. I'm not one of those just like gender doesn't matter with parenting. I think there's some aspects of life that are going to change with that, but a lot of the core values I have and core beliefs are going to be instilled regardless of gender. But the way Anthony Mackie speaks makes me think he probably doesn't have those same conversations if he has a daughter. Like I said, there's probably some things that overlap, but
yeah.
he does seem to believe that there's something unique to being a man, and I
Mm.
don't disagree with it. I just don't know if
Yeah,
we're at the same place.
I don't think he's not. If he has daughters or if he has women in his life, I'm pretty sure he's saying whatever I listen, I'm gonna say the same thing to you because if a man comes in your life, you need to expect him to do the very same thing. Because if he's not willing to do this for you, he's not a good man, right? So I would assume, right, that somebody like and listening to these brothers for a long period of time and knowing that Anthony Mackie has the same rearing and the same ideation, that he had same ideals, he's gonna say, hey, you can't let no sucker or no joker in your life, right? And until the man shows up, you got to be able to take care of yourself. You can't be no damsel in distress, right? You can't be some like ditzy airhead who can't take care of herself, especially in today's day and age where he has the conviction that the American male is dying. Yeah, of course he's talking to his girls and saying, "Yeah, you gotta be this that. You gotta be a queen because
Oh,
until your king comes, right, you gotta take care of yourself."
yeah, I guess I don't think he would say like, "Oh, your girls, you can be completely ditzy or whatnot." But I think instead of the expectation of being a man, being a protector, being these things, I think it would be like he would raise responsible adults, respect for responsible adults, regardless of gender. But I think he would be telling his daughters to go find this image of a male that he presents. Like, oh, okay, you need to find a man who protects you. You need to find a man who provides you, a man who does these things for you. Not necessarily that
Mhm.
they need to be that themselves.
Mm.
Plus, this
Yep.
is a very,
Right. It's
This
very
like,
is just
hey, hey,
suggesting.
you see how daddy treats you? You see how daddy treats your mommy?
Mhm.
Right? Do you see how respectful your older brothers are to you? Like it's like that's the archetype that I would like you to go find in the world, which happens. It happens all the time. It happens
but
all
this archetype, and I've been waiting to say this. Virtue and all that is very intangible, very like in like intrinsic, very almost spiritual. And Anthony Mackie was raised in the church, so like this idea of like stoicism, right, from like Marcus Aurelius, right, mixed in with like a Christian framework. A lot of this stuff, and this is why I feel like people came off as inherently transphobic, inherently homophobic. Oh, I'm feeling some type of way because they were around this Western Christian idea, right? And there's a lot of trauma. And
Mhm.
Had to
now,
add Christian to it,
yeah,
didn't you?
and it's gendered. It's very gendered because he specifically said, "Oh, this guy wearing tight pants. I might, I might be able to walk up on you and smack you around." Like he's
Which is
talking about
now
like a
that can be seen
very
as very
effeminate,
like
Not
very.
toxic
homophobic.
at all.
Pretty
Not
sure
It's
he's
toxic at
very
all.
very toxic. Yes.
He doesn't want effeminate boy. Like he doesn't want princes walking.
I
He want
think that
his,
has
his
I
kids
think
can't
that
be
honestly
on
subconsciously has to do with his brother
too much
being gay.
sugar in the
I
blood.
think that has a lot to do with that. Subconsciously has a lot to do with how his brother was raised and treated in his family. I think that
But
has a
he,
lot to
but
It
do
then
with
he
it.
probably,
went off and
but
said
that
that.
doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, it can manifest in negative ways. But maybe his brother was treated negatively, and he doesn't that to happen to his
If he
kids.
was
He's trying to
raised in a
protect them
Christian
from it.
household, his
I,
brother was probably treated negatively because of the religious idea of homosexuality.
sure,
That's,
but
but
even to what he even whenever he goes on to talk about playing gay roles and like his reason behind it, he framed that from a perspective of masculinity. He said that his reason, he's like, oh yeah, I wanted to play these characters. He said because I wanted to get to know my brother better. I wanted that. He said
Mhm.
my roommate was gay. Some of my closest friends were gay. He said, and I couldn't deal with that. He said, so as a man, he sought perspective. He thought that he was like, oh, okay, I need to do something to get a better perspective. So basically, he used it from a perspective like masculinity wasn't just anti-gayness. He said his masculinity was self-accountability and self-growth. So he felt like, okay, I have a problem with these people that I can't unpack, I can't put a reason to. So the masculine thing for him to do was to figure out how to unpack it, and his way of masculinely unpacking it was playing multiple gay characters.
like he specifically verbatim says, if you're from a certain time period from the South, you're gonna come out either sexist, homophobic, right?
Racist.
Or and I forgot the last thing he said.
Racist. Yeah, he
Racist.
said he grew up in the '80s in the South. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's like,
Mhm.
in order
I
to
mean, I
combat
feel like
that,
that still happens even though from the 80s, but side note.
Yeah, like I think that like I'm glad you brought that up, Azzy. Um that like he says that, and it seems like a thing that like he talks so later on in another part of the interview, right? A clip that I did see, he talks about how like yeah, he doesn't his, like he had a lot of homophobia growing up, and he like goes to college and his college roommate is gay, right? He didn't know how to deal with that, and he didn't know how to deal with his brother being gay. And he seemed to like do some like internal work on himself, right, to get himself right on the issue, and he feels like he's in a much better spot, right? But that doesn't mean, right, that the internal work is done, that like he doesn't still have like some of those attitudes. Now, of course, we can spend the time like the people on Twitter are doing, like ridiculing him for that, right? But it seems like we got to make space for people who are on their journey, right? It seems like he's like actively saying, "I was in a much worse place before, and this is where I am," right? And where he's at, again, I didn't see the sissification part, so maybe that was really really bad. So I don't know, right? But maybe where he's at is like, hey, I just want to have men that treat others with respect, no matter where they come from, right? Like their background, but at the same time, right, that type of man who I think would be respectful, like they are tough in a very specific way, right? And that maybe leaves less room for my sons, my boys, to be softer in quotes, right? But softer
say it.
in ways that I dislike. Go ahead, sorry.
Let's say it, man.
Well, no, I'm
Effeminate.
not saying, I'm
soft.
not trying to say anything. But by soft, that's why I put it in quotes, because like softer, like depends on what you feel like. Now, I wouldn't say that the kid is soft because like he cries, right? Like he has emotions and feels his emotions, right? I wouldn't call that kid soft, but other people would call it soft, right? So I'm like letting you, right, or anyone else, like put what you think should be in between those quotes.
Mhm.
I feel safe. No, I'm not gonna stop.
Mm.
What up? Yeah, I would say somebody who is soft is emotionally unregulated. And then when you're gendering it, if you're talking about a masculine man, the opposite of masculine, or not opposite, the counterpart would be feminine. But if you're pushing to be a more masculine person in the moment, right? You can't be all the time super feminine, right? Because then it's harder for you to tap into those into that image, into those emotions, into being that masculine person in the moment because you are so used to being, you know, you don't have the
Say that
resilience
about
that
indies.
you don't have the resilience for the gendered
Real
male.
shit.
You lack resilience.
I would say the feminine resilience is different from the masculine resilience, right? Because we know men and women are treated differently. Now, I'm not going to get like, oh, men and women are different on a biological scale. And
Thank
no, it's
God.
like when we're talking about gender, right, and how you express it, it's different, right? And yes, you can move in between, but if you're too fluid, right, you don't have that. He's talking about a rigidity in masculinity, and he's saying that rigidity, that that solid masculine male that we look to is dying in America.
Hey, Bruce Lee
I don't
said,
I
"Be
don't know if they
water."
really existed. Well, I don't know if they existed in the numbers we think they do though. I think that there's a little bit of the tinge of rose-colored glasses of people looking back on the heroes that they admire through the TV screens and maybe the relationships they had with their fathers. But I think if we go back in real time, like I mean, there's still people alive that are from the 60s, 70s, 80s on forward, and a lot of these people may be tough in some ways, but their quote unquote failures, they fail as men in a lot of other ways. Especially in the black community. There's a lot of people who have trouble taking care of their families, who didn't do a good job raising their children. There's a lot of people who have who are who've dealt with trauma, and you can tell like, oh, okay, they don't have a large emotional vocabulary. They don't know how to process a lot of the things that they experience. And it's not saying necessarily you have to go unpack their lives. They were just given the tools they were given, and they were most likely raised by parents who also didn't have the capacity to unpack a lot of these things. So I think that there's an image of what masculine men are, and I think that, and I don't find the aspiration towards it to be wrong necessarily. I think they're like, it is good, like I said, that Marcus Aurelius stoic male that you speak of, but I think that there's a perspective that these men used to be, by and large, this is how everybody used to be. But when you look back, it's probably something we've all, like, people have always quote unquote aspired to be, but by and large never truly were.
But
So, like,
but he's talking about we've demonized things that were good and we've called them bad, and
what's
that's
that?
why it's
Because in
dying.
practice, they
Because
What's the
ended
like
up
thing that
being
when
we
I
demonize?
initially said stoicism, y'all immediately thought of the
The
bad
definition of stoicism?
and the toxic, right? And even
Well,
the
a
definition
person
where I
that
said
can
a stoic
endure pain
person
or
is
hardship without showing feelings or complaining. So it's taking a beating, not saying a word.
yeah,
It's definitely not
but
a positive in all aspects.
well, okay, no, that doesn't mean you are all that all the time because even in stoicism also encourages emotional openness and reflection. So it's talking about somebody who is well-rounded.
I'm sure you've read on this, but I'm just saying what you're reading isn't how 99% of people apply that
Yeah,
word.
and
So it's
the
not.
why
I
like
just don't think it's
what
used.
and
But,
what
I'm,
you're
but it's
That's
not.
doing
my
But
about
say.
what
stoicism
you're
Okay,
is you're
saying
yeah,
doesn't
going
use.
back to
exactly.
Greek
Wait a
But
minute.
that's
Wait a
my
minute.
mythology.
take.
Azzy.
Right,
If I
Greek
That's
say,
my
mythology.
take.
Stop,
hold on one
stop
second.
all
Hold on a
that.
second. I'm
I'm
saying,
gonna let
Azzy,
y'all
if I
go, but
say,
I'm still gonna get.
sure, I understand that. But if I say, oh, it smells like shit in here, and I mean flowers, but everyone else takes shit to mean something different, it wouldn't be a useful definition for the conversation. When people talk,
No, but that just means your interpretation is different from everybody else. Doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
not useful. No. Hold on. Oh, okay.
Not
So
for
this is the
not for
problem.
communicating.
I found a use for it, but you immediately said, okay, 99% of people don't think of it this way. Like this is like this modern. Okay, so this is when Jordan Peterson. This is the Jordan Peterson.
The question you asked will apply to society. If you were just saying this is what Azzy thinks, that's one thing.
No, this isn't what Azzy thinks. This is what it is.
Wait a minute. You just hear me on what I'm saying. When you brought up, like, yeah, people have negative associations with stoicism. It's because 99% of people are going by a definition that doesn't apply what you're using.
Yeah, but it's like the N word. A lot of people, 99% of people, right? 99% of black people have a interpretation of the N word, and we don't allow certain people to say it. But then if you walk into another room, somebody else has an interpretation, and they have totally different feelings. But then we're talking about the definition itself.
Yes, if the N word is actually a great example. The N word, if you look in the dictionary,
just an argument of interpretation.
Ignorant person, like a general ignorant person. That definition doesn't tell the story of people's feelings around the N word.
Your feelings, like we said before, may not always be valid.
But
right?
They may not always be valid. But if everyone is using a word a certain way,
everybody could be wrong.
Overwhelming majority of, but you can't have a conversation.
Okay, so this is why American masculinity is dying, because if everybody's wrong, nobody's wrong, right?
Kinda, to some degree, yeah. If everybody else has agreed that this means this other thing, you saying that, like, why do they have a problem with this thing? They don't have a problem with whatever that word is. They have a problem with whatever the meaning is,
with the expression of it. Because it's not.
So rather than dancing around it, can you give your definition of stoicism?
I feel like he's done it this entire conversation. I feel like
he's
no.
Wait, hold on.
It's responsibility and duty, humility, self-control, courage and adversity, respect for self and others, having the ability to be rigid, but also having the ability to be emotionally open and reflecting when it's time, and it's a time and place thing.
Okay, I have a question. I have a very secondary question. Is that definition coming from the meaning of stoicism relating to Greek mythology and that part of what it means in Greek, like the mythology, and then now you're just applying it to like what stoicism is seen as, or are you trying to like combine the two, or like
I'm not talking about the mythos. Yes, there's the story of the Hercules who's always wins.
No. Do you?
No, are you talking Hellenistic philosophy, like the philosophy of stoicism, or are you talking about the word
the philosophy and the practice of stoicism?
So that's what you're doing. You're combining the two.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I'm not talking about the mythos of the.
Okay,
this is what I said exactly before. In media, American media has portrayed when they portray stoicism on film or in media, you don't see the emotionally open. Just like Prime said, you see somebody who is emotionally cut off and they're not showing emotion, which is also a part of stoicism, but they don't show the other side of stoicism, where the reflection and the openness and the person who cries at a funeral or cries when something touching happens in a movie, right? Or something that emotionally moves them. They don't show that part. They just show the emotionally dead warrior, man, the warrior man, but they don't show the sage or king. Like, it's like there's what's the
when we do that, the conversation becomes unpacking your definition versus like applying the rest of the world's definition.
But the rest of the world thinks he's transphobic and homophobic. That's what I mean. They are interpreting it as transphobic and homophobic because they're going back to their traumatic experience and feeling of how it was perceived in the past.
So
because that influences how he sees the world. Then
and a lot of people don't see good men.
But it's just when we say that, like, oh, the world has an issue with masculinity, and someone says, oh, you have an issue with with men hugging their children and loving and doing. It's like, no, that's not what they're saying.
A lot of people do have a problem when men hug their kids, and we had to grow into that. There was a movement where we had to teach men it's okay to say I love you to your kids or it's okay to hug and be happy for your kid. Like there is like you can't, your kid does something right, like you're gonna like, oh yeah, that's it. But if they fail, you're like beating into them. But so we have to teach over time that it's okay to support and love and nurture, as well as lead and protect.
Sure, let's just
And
talk about the
well,
thing.
let,
I
let,
feel
let
like we're doing the
Mordecai.
dream thing where we're like
Well,
getting stuck on definitions.
Just a quick question. So you're saying that it's demonized, but is stoicism exclusive to men only?
Because we've demonized our interpretation and feeling around stoicism, we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. So you don't even you don't even use that term. We now have to find a new term when in reality we were never using the term in completeness to begin with. We're basing it off our perception, not the reality.
I'm seeing this as like kind of a misnomer, and there can be stoic women. Women can be in a situation where they
women
don't
can be
show
stoic.
emotion
Stoic
in the
isn't
moment.
gendered.
So exactly. So I don't see how this is a demonization of masculinity, because it's not an exclusively masculine trait.
Well, women
Because
portraying
it,
something doesn't make it not masculine. There's masculine women.
yeah, it's not about it being masculine or feminine. It's about now we want men to be overly open and overly expressive. And sometimes even in that, we demonize that because a lot of women will say he's gay. Oh, he's too emotional. Or he talked too much. Right? So like there's no balance in the way we deal with masculinity. So you know what happens? A lot of men just decide to go nihilistic and they just tune out, or they don't even try because it's not even worth it. Right? They don't try to express themselves. So then you don't find somebody who's so super toxic. You just find somebody who is just totally tuned out and they just doing their own thing. You know, you seen that rise in the chill guy meme? You know, I'm just doing my own thing.
I think there's just I think what we call unattractive is I think there's an attractiveness and confidence can come out in situations like confidence in situations where other people are stressed. If you can keep it together, I think that that's something that women generally find is like, yeah, they find that attractive. They find that as like a good
Everybody
trait to
finds that
have.
attractive.
Um, I don't know.
Mm,
Some people overreact. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's not a
we don't base our we don't see that as a good thing if somebody's overreacting, because they're like, this is the basis of the conversation to begin with. Like we're watching an overreaction to something that if in full context we know is not true. The
I
man
don't know.
isn't
It
trying to
can
be homophobic
But I
or
think you're
transphobic,
kind of
I
but
think
doing
there is
what you're
like,
I think men
complaining
can
about.
find it.
but we do understand that there are, if taught wrong, right? Or some of the things he said made Queen feel a certain type of way. Why? Because if in put in the hands of somebody else, it may be very homophobic. Like for instance, if somebody else other than Anthony Mackie, and I'm assuming much, right? Maybe he is homophobic and transphobic, right? If we delve deeper. But if somebody else, right, based upon their actions, their beliefs, said the same exact thing Anthony Mackie said, yeah, it may be transphobic. Matter of fact, no, not even maybe. Yeah, something he's saying is transphobic and homophobic, right? Because there's like this conflation of stuff.
I don't know. I think so. I don't. I even the idea of like, oh, overreacting is always unattractive. I don't even know if that's necessarily true. I think my girlfriend's a worrier. I find it sometimes to be cute. It can be like become too much. But
Mm,
like I can just like, oh, she look at her, she's in one of her mood, she's doing anything, and then like I guess it's kind of like a guy thing. I get to hero it up and like put her in parameters. Like, okay, it's gonna be okay. We've got, we're gonna do A, B, C, and D. And then she
yeah.
calms down and she says, "Oh, okay." Like I don't need her, that works. That works for us. So I don't even say it's necessarily a bad thing that she does that because there's also benefits to it. She brings up something that I maybe didn't consider, like, oh, with her overword, like, oh, okay, you thought. Most of the time it's random, but sometimes you said something like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. So I don't think it's necessarily unattractive in necessarily unattractive dynamic, but I can understand why women want men to be be rocks, more so be rocks. We want to be steadier of the boats. Whenever
Is being a coward attractive?
I don't think that's attractive in
I don't know if
anyone.
anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that
Yeah.
about a woman either. But like a woman, I don't think
You get a
the
lot more grace.
the
When the
the
woman
softness of a
screams
woman
every time a
necessarily means.
mouse or bug, I'm like, that's
Hold on.
annoying.
I don't know.
I
if
find it
deal breaker.
hilarious. I take
That's
videos of it.
I don't know. I don't know if that's being necessarily being a coward. Hold on. Let's like disambiguate these things, right? Like, so I hear you. One, that can be annoying. I remember having
Inside.
family members. I remember one time in my family house, I had some like cousins over, and they're female. One was, I think, even slightly older than me. And like I went to the basement, and there was like a mouse that died, and they're like screaming about it, like, ah, screaming, right? Like, Prime, move the mouse, move the mouse. I like moved it closer to them and fucked off. And they were just stuck there. Like, oh my, it was literally a fucking dead mouse. There was nothing to be like, it was nonsense. Okay. However, that's different from necessarily being a coward. Like, you can be afraid of a thing, right? Even if it's irrational fear, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean you're a coward. A coward would be a person who's unable to step up in all kinds of situations, right? Not necessarily just a specific fear. You would agree, right, Azzy? Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm terrified of snakes.
That
I'm
sounds
just
like
using
from
like
flight
the
or
mouse
flight
situation
moon.
because it's easy.
Okay,
But like,
fight or flight.
okay, yeah, if I need you, if I'm hurt, right, or I need backup when somebody breaks in, and you can't, you can't
This
pull
is a red pill conversation. This is like,
Yeah.
why do
For
men get to
real.
tell women what to do? Because
gonna
we
be
go
my
off and
first
fight and
thought.
die in war.
Listen,
If someone
I'm hurt.
going
or
down
like,
the alley,
listen,
I
I'm
would
gonna tell
fight
my
to the
wife,
death
yeah,
for
back
you.
up. I'm
That
gonna need
means
you
you
to
should
hold
do what I
this.
say.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell my girl, hey, there's the second piece back there. I'm gonna need you. Yeah, I'm gonna be in front, but you gotta be, you know, you gotta be in you gotta have the line side. You
I
gotta have,
understand. These are always just so like
gotta have vision.
unrealistic conversations of like real people's lives. But I understand the heart, the gist of what you're trying to say. Like,
Yeah,
it's
and
just
this is
red
what I
pills
mean.
always go to these places.
I don't want no coward in my house because I would say a cowardly mother can't really protect her kids, right? Because a mother should be able to step up and protect their kids in all situations in adversity. But if you so afraid,
I mean,
you're
protect it
afraid
could
of
be running.
confrontation, you're afraid of how somebody look at you or talk to you, you're a rat. Sometimes, yes, being a coward, right, is irrational in most situations. Now, if you like, you want to lose, right? You up against a 300-pound, 7-foot giant. Okay, that makes sense. But
Isn't fear
still, at least I'm gonna
what
need you
kept
to.
humans alive? Like, I don't even know if it's necessary. Like we say, like, oh, is that an unattractive hate trait?
No, because being a
I
coward
think for
doesn't
like
keep
the
you
first
alive. Most of the time, being a
thousands of
coward
years,
gets
few thousand
somebody
years of
killed.
humans' existence, like were like the reason we lived is because of fear, like especially of the dark. Like we
Fear
learned
doesn't
really
mean
quick,
coward.
like, oh, okay, I don't go out during the nighttime because I can't see out there and I don't know what's going on, and this is keeps me
Fear
alive.
doesn't mean
Exactly,
coward.
as
Yeah,
you're
that's
getting
what I
into the
said.
conflation of words. So
Yep.
fear is a natural response. Courage is what we're talking about. People that have courage versus cowardice. These are
Yeah.
two different concepts.
Okay, people find courage in everything attractive.
Courage is
Like
probably an
people,
unnatural response.
the concept of the girl boss is very attractive to women for the most part because there's a level of confidence in adversity for the girl boss. I don't care what no feminist says. And when it's time to be the girl boss, they're gonna pull up and say, "Shut up!" And this is me. This is my moment, right? The concept of it is being courageous. Now, when it's time to advocate, matter of fact, I said this to a woman a long time ago, right? Whose name will not be spoken on this platform ever again. I'm like, if you can't advocate for yourself, shut up. Don't start coming in here and complaining and
That's
expecting
terrible.
everybody else to come to your aid when you can't even advocate for yourself when need be. Like,
Uh,
because especially when it's time for you to be the one to advocate for yourself in the moment, you're just causing more problems and you're expecting everybody else to fix and solve. And a lot of the time that causes, like, this is the situation where the man and woman are out in public and the woman expects the man to go fight in the most crazy situations when the man is like, no, we need to turn around and walk away. And
I
if
know.
and
I
then
want
she's
my
And
raise
wouldn't
my
that be
daughter
cowardly then?
not stepping up. I'm like, no, we need to go. Like,
I want my
you
daughter
me?
to be like
You gonna get me
to
killed?
have this level of confidence, but I do think you're overstepping to say that, like, oh, everyone wants the girl boss like confident type.
True.
There's an entire archetype
We want more
of
women to
girl
be the
that
girl boss because they
wait,
show up
just
on
let
the
me finish the sentence,
platform.
Lassie. There's an entire
No.
archetype of men that women that certain men find attractive, and it's like the shy little girl, alt girl. Like, oh, she doesn't say much, she's really shy, but she's cute. Like she's not confident. She is a little like, this is scary. Like she's not a girl boss in any regard, and that's
That's a
some people's
fantasy.
type. That's some people look for.
Yeah, that's
So
a
I don't.
fantasy. That's
No,
a
it doesn't.
a fetish.
I don't make it a fetish. That's just some people are
Yeah.
attracted to.
And
Do you
that
hear
was
yourself speak sometimes, Ozzy? Like for
Yeah, I
real?
know. I thought about it. I've been thinking about saying it from a long time, and I was waiting for somebody to say it. I thought about this long and hard. When we look at the cutesy the cutesy girl that we need to protect, oftentimes men die. I'm not saying it's good or bad,
Why are we
but a
fighting to
lot
the
of
death
men
all the
have
time?
lost their
That's
life
the only thing we know
for
how to
the
do in
cutesy
relationships.
little thing that needs. Yeah, that cutesy little thing needs to be protected. But we have fetishized, like a lot of men have gone over women because they were looking for the cutesy little
And
thing that they need
why
to
is she always
protect.
Asian? Like 85% of the time she's Asian. I
Okay,
don't know.
yeah, all right. Yeah, I was thinking that too, but I was never
yeah,
gonna
I've
say
seen
it.
Asian women
Yeah.
body dudes, but
I
You
mean,
I don't
talking
know.
about? I ain't
I'm
even
just saying,
thinking
whenever that
that's
like little
you know,
stereotype of like the
but
quiet, whatever girl, she's Asian like 85% of the time, and she has like a high pitched voice.
But half the times Chinese women ain't like that.
because
They
it's
they
about
smack
being
they smack their
docile.
people
It's
up.
the being
I know a lot of
docile.
Yeah, maybe that's it. People
yeah.
like
There's
that.
a lot of women. Yeah, they're and that's a problem even in Asian culture where they expect the women to be so docile, and a lot of them aren't. So that's what I mean. There's this idea and fetishization of a certain ideal of a person, which isn't perfect, right? And that's the toxic. Even in that's toxic for that type of person, where you
yeah,
expect
that's
them to be.
toxic
So, a
femininity.
lot of them have a lot of trauma for being treated. There's grown women who get treated like little girls because they're small and cutesy, and we think they can't protect themselves. And then you know what happens? They overcorrect and become this
I
very
wasn't speaking to
angry
whether the
person.
traits are good or
They hit
bad.
somebody,
I was
and
just
now it's
responding
like,
to your.
oh, I can hit you because you're bigger than me. You're the man.
Azzy, I wasn't speaking to the positive or negativity of the archetype. I'm just saying you were speaking to like, oh, people find everyone finds this type of trait attractive, and I was like, no, actually, for men, is like a lot of the time is the exact opposite.
They insecure. A lot of those men end up being insecure. When you start to figure out things, you find that there's a lot of insecurities where they
that
feel
can
like they need
exist.
somebody to protect.
I feel like
That's a thing too, but some men just like that thing.
Yeah, that's insecure.
No,
If you
like some
feel
men
like
aren't
you
insecure,
need
still
to
just
be
like
a
that.
so
thing.
much.
Yeah, that's insecurity.
No, it's not necessarily. I understand that
Why not?
like I understand why you can connect it to insecurity, but I'm saying that people can be attracted to things for non-toxic reasons. People can just like certain things too. But I understand generally if you
We're
look at
not
like
talking
the
about
red
dark chocolate skin. We're
and when
talking about like personality. And
yes,
like
and people are attracted to different personality types for a number of reasons. I understand when you look at the red pill space, which is how everything you've said came out. Yes, they want a docile, don't
everything
talk
I
back
said
type
is
of women,
not.
and I
You don't want no
typically
red
You
pill.
are on a
appreciate-
red pill arc, Ozzy, and you have
This is
no
not even-
idea
What if I
how
said
you
is like
fucking
red
got
pill?
here.
I'm
And
so
I see this
I am
shit, and I
perplexed.
see this shit. Hold up, I motherfucking see this shit even in your fucking TikToks, dude.
Why?
Okay, you don't think I fucking see that shit, nigga? You is being red pilled, and you don't even fucking know it.
Said no, I'm not red pill. You're talking about. I'm not.
Don't
you know what? You know what? I'm
talking
gonna own
about
it.
Benoit.
exactly.
I'm blood red.
Exactly.
I'm not the hot pink red, that off red that you're talking about. There's colors to this. There's a spectrum of red. You're blending me in like we said
Because
a lot of things-
you're
a lot
giving
of
the
things
same
red pill
exact
space
talking point
said
as
is
you.
correct, but the way they were saying and interpreting it was just wrong.
No,
now a
because
lot of
you
the
just
truth
said
they
that
were
it was
saying,
correct. Because you just said that it was correct. But I'm telling you straight up, the shit is
no, I'm saying
incorrect.
a lot
And
of
you
the
was in
stuff
that
they
shit.
said. I didn't say everything they said was correct. So okay, let's comprehension. That's another TikTok I put up. Comprehension. Like a lot of things they said was true, but just because they're saying true things does not mean that they are correct. Because their interpretation of the stats, their interpretation of those truisms was false. It was toxic, and we can all agree to that. Correct? Don't call
No,
me red pill, please,
you are
because
red
I'm
pill.
far
You
from
are.
it.
Yeah.
So, do
Yeah.
you recognize that the baby voice is like weaponized femininity in a lot of cases?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll do that to get out of trouble. They'll do that to
Just to
not get into
sound
fights.
Manipulate.
or
Yeah.
even just to be like sounding sweet, and so that way
It's
you don't
psychotic.
sound like you're overbearing or whatever. I just because I've had a lot of my friends do that shit too, and I told them it's fucking annoying because like you don't talk like that when you're around me. You don't talk that around your husband. You don't talk about that anyway, but you'll talk like that on someone that you don't know in order to seem a certain way when you're not.
They got
Yeah,
And
husbands
that's
and they
put
out there
on.
talking to
That's
niggas
put
in baby
on.
voice. I wouldn't know what is my
No,
wife.
no. But I'm
Baby
saying
talking
that
to another
no.
man.
manipulate.
No.
If you're
That's what I say.
manipulating, that's
That's what I said. They don't
that's a
talk to their
state.
husband that way. They don't talk around their children that way. It's only when they're in a space where they're a woman, or like they're in a store, or they're like on the phone with someone, obviously that they don't know, that they be this way.
But I think there's
And
a human aspect to that. Like, whenever you get on the phone with someone you like for the first time, it's late night. I'm about to say, it's me back in high school. It used to be a thing like, hello. You get the sleepy voice. You're not sleepy at all, but you play a sleepy voice because for some reason they
That
love
still,
the sleepy voice.
that shit still happens
It
today.
hits.
What you talking about?
It hits. I'm about to say you do a little voice, and then once they hang out with you, like you hit like that random high note, like what you mean? And they're like, oh, you into a high voice. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't
okay,
know. I
so
think that
okay,
humans just trying to seem attractive to each other. We're just trying out here.
let me amend. Right, if you are naturally shy and naturally demure, right, naturally
Oh, this
Yeah, the
space is
demure.
if you're
very
He said
naturally
demure.
demure.
it's like a extrovert versus an introvert or an ambivert. If you are naturally one of those things, okay. But if you're doing it on purpose to get a certain result, or if you find those qualities attractive, there's something wrong with you. I'm
Would you
just
say
gonna
it's
say it
toxic?
because and then I need to know the reason why you find it attractive. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're saying, oh
yeah.
yes, of course,
Answer,
anybody can
Leithy.
find anything attractive, and you can grow into attraction for something, but there's a reason for it. So now we need to understand the reason why a lot of people find the shy, demure, tiny woman. Oh, they're more feminine. I feel like I can protect them. They'll listen to me. They'll treat me right, right? And it is this fantastical depiction of a person, because as soon as they rear up and bare their fangs, right, we like, oh, either we don't take them seriously, which causes trauma, or we totally are put off by it, and then all of a sudden people are breaking up with each other over some insignificant reasons where you just found out, oh, this
I
person
don't
is
think
being a well-rounded person.
I don't think that there's said to be something wrong or something to unpack there. Because some men like big braggadocious, like voluptuous women with big voices and lots of that too. And we don't say that, oh, we need to unpack that. You just say like, oh, people like different things.
I think we should unpack the bald head, big booty woman. Why do you feel like you need to present yourself in a certain way?
I don't know why I said bald
What are
head
you
big booty, but
trying to
nothing wrong
get?
with them either.
Okay,
Nah,
I felt
Amber
there was
Rose
so
got
much
something wrong
shade.
with her.
What
Yeah,
you got
That's
against
Amber,
bald
Amber
women,
Rose
huh?
has plenty wrong with her,
bald
but
head,
Just
big,
took a
not
sharp
short
left.
haircut, big booty.
sure, but
I'm
the
like,
issues with Amber Rose has nothing to do with her butt. Yeah, but maybe it's the tattoo across her forehead. Maybe it's the drum support. Maybe it's her like values.
okay,
I
so
wouldn't
we're
start it
talking
at
about
her
present.
butt.
It's still all more of a presentation. So you're attracted to this present, or people present themselves in a way to get certain things, right?
Sure. But what I was talking about, I was talking about just something completely different. I'm just saying that the things people find attractive, whether that when they become physically, can vary for a number of reasons. Yeah, there may be some like things to unpack, but I don't think that's always necessary. I think people can like what they like. I've always said that. Um, I've always said that someone who really wants black people to date each other, the the one thing you can never actually there's no value in doing in a dating scene, like the politics of dating, is ever trying to actually force someone to date someone they don't want to date. Like you're not worthy. Like you don't quote unquote deserve to be courted. Like that's just gonna be based on who likes you or who doesn't like you. You know, if I can set my standards through the roof. I can set my standards at Chloe Bailey or bust, and I'm not dating anybody but Chloe Bailey. And I can get her. Yeah, but if I was a lesser man and for some reason couldn't get her, and I didn't move my standards, people can feel how they want to feel, but at the end of the day, that's my standards. Like this is
Also,
what I want to date.
standards are illusory as well,
What that
right?
mean?
Because you may think you the lesser man, and then all of a sudden you look at the lesser man and you see her with this 10, you see him with a 10, and you're like, oh, how'd he get that? Like these standards also don't make sense often. They're also a form of like the way we try to sectionalize, things. We're like, okay, the 10 girl should never be with the 3 guy until you see it, and then you're perplexed by it. And it's like, oh, this reality doesn't exist. And I'm like, why even, like, if the way you said Chloe Bailey, the way I am now, I could definitely get her. But if I was a lesser man, I would never have it. I'm like, what does that mean, dude? What are you talking about,
It
dude?
means not me. All of
Break
you.
that down for me. What do you mean by lesser man?
It means not me. That's what that means.
Yeah,
Every
that's a
other
level.
man, a lesser man.
Even that's a little overconfident too. What does that mean, dude? Who is
But
you?
that's actually, I'm vibing with that because that's part of like what he was saying. Like, I want my kids to know not to have fear to take a chance and fail.
Mhm.
You shouldn't be afraid to fail. So you shoot your shot. If it doesn't work out, that's it for you. But all the same, the whole idea of like 3s and 10s, you could get with that girl you think is a 10 or looks like Chloe Bailey and find out she's a hot mess when you get her behind closed doors. So she's actually a 2 that you thought was a 10 and is with a 3.
That's
Right.
true. Some of the most beautiful women in the world. Now, some of the beautiful women are just great all around. And I've been with others that, like, you spend a little bit of time with them and you understand, you are single for a reason. I understand. This is like, I am not the one for you. Like,
Exactly.
but taking it back to masculinity, like I said, like I said, there is truth to the fact that there's something that society is pushing back against. There is something that society feels like isn't good for young boys to be, and isn't good for
What
young
is
girls
it?
to be around. And it's a broad spectrum of things. Again, like it's not about what any definition or word we can attach, but it's there. Like we understand that there's been generations of men raised to believe certain things, and the men that they're turning out to be are I wouldn't say by and large, but there's an uncomfortable percentage of those men who end up hurting women in different ways. Some they're aware of, and some ways they're like they weren't aware of. And I think that that's what's being unpacked. Like you hear a lot of older men say that older men talk about how things that they had to unlearn. They like, oh, I didn't know not to grab a girl. I just knew it's how you grab her. You grab her softly. You pull her, you grab by the arm, you pull her softly. He didn't know that keep my hands to
But he
myself.
can't do that. Sexual assault.
But people, like I said, these are things that people were taught. It's taught that I even grew up in the time. Like I said, I talk about this often. Like people think it's crazy, but I grew when I was in high school. People like half of the people I guess friend groups, associate groups used to rent trains. They'd be like, oh, okay, get a girl to come over, and she likes you, get her to come over, and then once y'all are hooking up, just see if she's down, like for the crew. Not like rapey, not sexual assault itself, but it's an uncomfortable position to put in when it's already 5 guys here and they're kind of standing around waiting. What do you want to do? Like they thought that that was completely normal and
It's
healthy.
the implication.
It's the implication.
And we've had this conversation before.
I would never want a person to be threatened to feel threatened and do that. Like hold on, sorry, I'm trying to like focus on what part of this you think is a problem. Like if you're saying we're inviting a girl in here and she's like, holy crap, to get out of here, I have to let these guys sleep with me. That's
No,
a big
no,
problem
you
for
don't
me.
say it. It's more of like a peer pressure thing.
Yeah,
Like,
but
oh,
no, the implication, yeah, like there's a pressure. There's a pressure.
but not like not to get out of here safely. It would be.
Okay.
It's more of like, oh, like I like this guy, and this is what he wants me to do, and these got other people are here, and they're all saying that this is normal. Like it's not like, oh, they're gonna hurt me, but it's kind of like a social thing. Like you want to be, this is you're a cool
You
girl,
want to
aren't
be
you?
down. You want to be
You're not one.
down.
I
Yeah. I
yeah, you're
want to
not
seem
one of
like
the
a
lame
dude.
girls, right? And now it's like, yeah, I guess I don't want to be one of the lame girls.
Yeah, well,
Like,
sorry. Okay, so I see what you're saying that like it's not necessarily like a threat to their physical safety. I hear you.
yeah,
So I acknowledge that, but still, like I wouldn't want to pressure anyone want to do anything that sexually they don't
correct.
want
No,
to
that's what I'm
be up
saying.
to.
That's what I'm agreeing with.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
Okay.
that, like
Yeah.
when we grew up, I always just thought trains were lame. I was like, I don't want to have sex in front of a bunch of dudes. Like that just feels gross. But like they didn't see it as a problem. They didn't see it as a part of rape culture or anything like that. They're like, oh yeah, it's just something we do. Like, oh, everybody wants to hook up. If you can get a girl, like, we'll figure it out when she
Yeah.
gets here. And yeah, now we're unlearning a lot of things, those things, saying they're like, actually, that wasn't okay. We shouldn't be doing that. That's not something we should teach going forward. That's not
Yeah.
something,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't just
Like exactly that. Yeah, we shouldn't be teaching people to pressure. Now, if a woman like separately, like by herself, decides that's the thing she wants to take part in, that's her business. I think, but like yeah, at least from my perspective, it's like pressuring people to do that and like unpacking that. Like, I look, no one ever invited me to anything that exciting when I was in high school. I can assure you that. Um, but would I have gone? I probably would have, right? Like, and I would have been excited about my first time or whatever the fuck, right?
yeah.
And like I might have partaken in that, and that would have been wrong. If there was pressure involved, that would have been the wrong thing to do. I'm
Yeah.
glad I avoided that. Not glad that I didn't have sex in high school,
But like, yeah,
like I'm glad I
thing
avoided
is,
that.
I think that's the point. That's the honesty of it. Is like it's not about like, oh, like everyone knows that that's bad, or oh, like only bad people do things like that. No, there's a lot of pressure going on, especially with young kids, especially with high schoolers. Like there's a horniness. If you heard that, like, oh yeah, she does with everybody, man. All you gotta do is show up, you'll get your turn. Like maybe like in your head, maybe she does, maybe she likes it, maybe this is just her thing. Like,
Yeah,
and I'm a young hormone flowing kid.
you're
Like I always
looking.
thought she was kind of hot.
Yeah, and
Why
you're
not? I'll take the
looking
chance.
for that yes, right? You're looking hard for that yes, wherever you can find it.
Exactly.
And like, hey, like you're maybe forming patterns in your head that mean like, oh, she's okay with this. Maybe that don't necessarily exist.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's a whole situation.
Yeah, I mean that's just one example, but there's a number of things that we grew up and people before us grew up that like they thought was okay that we learn now that like, oh, these things aren't masculine, these things aren't
Yeah.
healthy behaviors. Like we should probably not pass these behaviors on, because they've ended up hurting people in
Yeah,
ways.
I think I like the re-examination. So again, I didn't hear the part Anthony Mackie called like other maybe male sissies, right? Maybe something along those
Yeah,
lines.
I didn't hear that word specific as sissy, but that
Yeah,
which I don't like that word because I feel like there's an implication there. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be, but it feels strange to say now.
yeah. So like um uh I think there is um a lot of value in like re-examining what we think of as masculinity. Um Like I think there's value in saying that okay, there are things from the past that are useful and values we still want to instill to this day. We can re-examine some of these things and how we treated women, especially how we treat oh fuck. Um but how a man treats anyone in particular. Um and like arrive at new conclusions, right? Like I hate this idea of like, tradition, and we got to be a traditional man, right? And your tradition only goes as far back as your cultural memory, right? You don't you don't understand like what masculinity has been throughout the years, but you think like this idea of manhood has been what it was like for time immemorial, when that's like not the case, right? I think it's worth, with our changing landscape. I mean, like masculinity might have meant something completely different in a hunter-gatherer society, right? Maybe necessary to be something completely different. But we don't live in that society. We have a society of laws, theoretically, right? And like, what does it look like when you don't live in an honor society? You guys heard that? Like the difference between an honor society and what's the other society? It's like a reputation society or something. There's two. There's honor societies versus another type. But honor societies are ones where basically it's up to you to protect your reputation, and to solve like conflicts yourself, that you don't have a state over you, a third parties that you utilize, and if you don't do it yourself, right, then you'll end up being a target, right? So like if someone like disrespects you, you have to, right, for your own safety and the safety of your family, you have to respond. I know you see that all across the world, but you see that in ghettos, right? Where people can't use the cops because the cops aren't on their side, so they can't just go to the police to solve these issues. They have to do it themselves, and it's versus something else. I'm not sure if someone in the chat can tell me what that is. But there's another term basically, and yeah, that's the opposite. Where like you're used to like operating in like a shared cultural values of like how we work through our conflicts, right? And if necessary, you get a third party. People like that, people on in either of those cultures can't understand the other, right? We're in a culture of the latter in terms of laws, and like our version of masculinity here has to keep that in mind. That means, right, if someone disrespects you, right, well, you can, try to confront them, but it doesn't necessarily mean like lashing out in anger and like beating the crap out of them, right? That might not be a version of masculinity that's useful in this period in time. And I think it's fair to always just be reevaluating these things, what is useful within our society.
Yeah, even things we're passing on now, like to this day, like by and large, we don't really have a reason to. It's just related to like a sense of pride. And I'll acknowledge, point to me. I thankfully I never got into a fight in like high school or anything like that. I didn't, like I said, I just didn't have enemies or anything like that outside of this one girl who's my sworn enemy to this day. But yeah, something that I was told, something that I see people that take their kids, put their kids in school now tell them is, and y'all have probably heard similar, if not experienced it. The parents tell you like, oh, don't put your hands on anybody, but if somebody hits you, you hit them back. You stand up for yourself in that way. You defend yourself, and when reality, the right response is probably, if in today's school and in today's world, if somebody puts their hands on you, you go to a teacher. You tell an adult what happened, and if the teacher doesn't stick up for you, then you defend yourself. But you don't immediately respond with like violence, because we're in a society that, like, in real life, like even past into adulthood, you can't just go and fight somebody back just because you want to fight you or because you've been disrespected. You'll go to jail that way. You should alert authorities. Like, you should call the cops. You should figure out how to use your resources around you to protect yourself. But if those defenses fail, then there becomes a need to defend yourself. But like, that's most people typically don't think that there's an extra step. Like,
I found what I was looking for. So it's honor culture versus dignity culture. And dignity would be the one that most of us exist in now. If you list in some places in America, right? In some places, it's an honor culture where like you have to handle things yourself. But yeah, for most of Western society, at least the ones with like a state that has a strong state that has a court system. We are in a dignity culture, so it's a bit different. But like, I hear what you're saying that like even then like it's a mix, right? Because if the authorities fail you, like you said, all right, well then you got to stick up for yourself. If the technician is not going to help you, well then you got to handle it, or you can't be pushed around all the time. So yeah,
But you
like
shouldn't jump straight into that though. Like, yeah, we should
Yeah.
probably give people more steps between like, like your pride was hurt. Now resort to violence.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like it's one thing of like, oh, if someone hits you, like it's not like just take the punches and like get
Yeah.
beat up. There's a level of self defense. But if someone like shoves you, it's like, okay, my parents told me now. I guess I get to hit them. Now I get to. Now I fight for my honor. I fight for my reputation. I fight for like, we can have other value. We can go do other things about it, and it just helps them. It also builds a better case for you if you ever do have to fight after that. Like, oh, you went and told the teacher, and the teacher didn't do anything or they thought it was okay. Well, now you're even more in the right. Like, I tried to seek help and I felt abandoned. I didn't have any choice left. At that point, I'll never be mad at my kid if they can say they follow through on those steps. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, unless they killed the other kid, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
Lord.
And we get a pizza. That's when we come out with ice cream. Like, I'm raised a warrior. You have honor. No, that would be awful. But yeah, no, like people can get hurt, can get seriously hurt. Your kid or the other, like, yeah, you don't. It's not good to fight.
So I think we've
It's not.
run down this
Back through it, yeah.
topic. But this was
Where are the mother fellows?
like I said, they had some stuff to do. So it was like it was very tentative. They said they were going to keep me in the loop, but of course they never do actually.
GSU will only show up magically if he needs to protect Kanye from being Nazi labeled.
Kanye West is a fucking Nazi.
Kanye had literally
Kanye
made a
is a
label
Nazi straight
for
up.
himself with a Nazi on it. He's Nazi label. I'm sorry.
Like,
He has, when you make swastika merch,
That's a pretty good.
I don't know.
I argued with that dude for over an hour about that.
Seriously, he argued about it. He argued about like wearing the
That
swastika.
Kanye is not. He said
No
that Kanye
way.
is not a Nazi. He's only
He
trolling
He
and
refuses to
arguing.
take this L. He refuses to take this L.
Hell no.
All right. Well, I got to deal with him one in the future. Next time we can, we want to have another Kanye talk, and we need this man to fold completely. No, like nothing except nothing less than complete surrender from this man. On this
How about we
topic.
just write in chat and be like, hey, at GSU, hey, we talking about Kanye. Magically pulls up.
Yeah.
Probably would.
Well,
Name 3 times.
well,
Peterson, Kanye.
in any case, I appreciate you all coming through. This
Yeah, it's been
was
fun.
a good conversation. It was nice seeing you all again. I don't get to see Azzy as much as I'd like to. Az is a cool dude, and we're always happy to have him around. Especially we are happy to have DQ. I thank you for your perspective on this, especially like the child rearing stuff. It was very valuable. So I really appreciate you. I hope you felt heard doing all that.
I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Waterkai, for just being like the coolest dude. Like honestly, like Waterkai was there. He was supporting me. Like he was one of the first people to send me a message, after the temple thing. He was just like, I think even beforehand, you were like, "Hey, you got this" or something like that.
What happened?
Prime the Gibbs Slayer hopping.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, maybe you don't know DQ. Maybe you weren't here for this. Oh, yeah, I went on Tim Pool's show.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Nigga.
This happened last Friday. Yeah.
YouTube channel.
Put Tim Pool in his place, took Gibbs's head and walked out of the studio, head held high.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good discussion. My only point though is that my man Waterkai, he's always so like supportive, and like I shout out to you, man. You're such a cool. You're a real one. Like honestly, I think everyone says it about you, and it's because it's true. So shout out to you, my friend.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. And then, of course, my man Bam, who was really helping me. First of all, he was helping me prepare for that temple debate. He's always a great individual. Always happy to have him. Not my favorite.
I know what we have. You don't got to tell them.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, all of Prime's correct talking points were me. Everything he said wrong in this debate was.
You see how beautifully you weave non-toxic and toxic masculinity into that conversation?
But I appreciate you all. Yeah.
Absolutely. Love y'all. Love being here. I think as things exist right now, and I mean it's your channel, you figure out how it works. I think I'd be fine with AB being on an event basis. Or it's like
sometimes food.
Yeah, sometimes like okay, something's going on. I was about to say just based on the crowd we have right now. But it's an unfortunate, but I think you get better conversations out of it that way.
Yeah,
I've been vibing on Prime doing the random streams where he just does whatever it is, the topic it is, and it's just him doing it, and he's covering like an hour or so worth of content. I've been appreciating him.
For sure. Have you reviewed your own debate? You have to review your own debate.
Can we all do a Prime special here, ABA special of going through your debate live on stream?
You can all do that separately. Yes.
It'll be good for his views. We should all do it separately. I won't though.
Do you like hearing yourself talk or watching your own debates?
I specifically don't.
Even if you hate it, it's good. It's good content to unpack like what you meant, what you could have been better. You should do it. It's good for the growth.
Oh my god. It's not awful. And also I'm just get like super frustrated because like I was saying afterwards that like my big mistake is allowing them to take so much time on immigration. So like a DQ, the topic was Doge, right? The department. And I said it was a threat to democracy. Gibbs said otherwise, and Tim Pool took a side. And so my big problem there was allowing them, because they quickly figured out that I was well sourced, that I had everything I was saying could back up, and so they quickly changed the subject to immigration. I let them stay on that topic for way too long, like forgetting I have a limited amount of time here. I gotta like push this forward, and so I finally like literally like had to drag them back to the topic. And like Waterkai knows what I'm talking about, right?
He was like, I don't know about that, but I know I came here to talk about those.
Amazing.
He just kept saying like, no, like, what do you think about the trans kid army?
Yeah, he literally went to like trans issues. What the fuck? Like, no.
Everything always boils down to trans people because that's what it is.
Yeah, always. But I mean, that's where he thinks he can get an easy W. It's like, no, I gotta get back to it. And so I did, but like they were running out the clock, and I think a lot of my strongest points I didn't get to say. Like I had like pages of notes, and I didn't get through most of them.
That was one of the things I prepped before. I said, whatever you pack, you might get to like 20% of it. Like it's not going to be a content thing.
I hear that, but like it would have felt differently if it was 2 solid hours of the actual conversation rather than this portion of wasted time.
You're never going to get that from his content circle. Never, ever. Like that's just the way it is. He cannot stay on topic. Point blank.
It's a 2 versus 1, and one likes to dish gallop, and the other is so.
No, if Prime was ill prepared, he would have got 2 hours of it. But like, once you're losing, of course you're gonna abort mission.
Yeah,
like, this is good.
Yeah. So that's my big criticism of myself. If I ever do that again, if I ever get the chance again, I will absolutely keep him on target. And drag him back as many times as I need to get the W there.
Come on.
You coming for that? That's like you better get nervous every time I look down at this computer screen, because you know what's about to come out my mouth is truth, right? Don't run from the truth, right? You better embrace it. It's coming for you. So yeah, that's what that I went because I thought like it's fine, like okay they're taking a little break and I could just try to like use this to like refocus like my points and like my strategy here, but then I let them go on way too long, so not gonna have that again. But yeah,
Great
thanks
job.
everyone for coming through. Thank you to the chat. Consider helping out the channel if you'd be so kind. But in any case, let's see who can raid. DQ, are you streaming?
I will be continuing streaming. I'm be playing some Assassin's Creed.
As Prime gets rated.
Did I just get raided?
Yeah, by 37 and 71.
Oh, Humanist Report. Oh, and Matt Binder. What? Okay. Oh, now we gotta
Nice.
stick around. I
Yeah.
gotta stick around. Hey, hello, hi, cooking with Azzy. Thank you, Azzy, for resubbing. Hello, audience of the Humus Report and Matt Binder. That's really kind of you to come through. Thank you for the follows that I'm getting. Hey, hi, my name is Prime. Lila Waterkai, thank you for gifting us up to Professor Whom. That's really kind of you all to come through. I'm not exactly sure why this is happening. It really must be. It must be the Tim Pool debate. Like I can only imagine that'd be why. Hello, hi, my name is Prime. Hello there. Love the PFP. Oh yeah, Luffy. Thank you so much, Black Luffy. Hello all. My name is Prime. I run a debate type channel. These are people who come in for debate. We also actually open up the space for people like you. Yes, you're sitting at home to debate as well. So like we'll have spaces, time for you guys to come in and talk about whatever you want. But yeah, we debate. We debate people from across the political spectrum. We have a good time here. And we love for you to be a part of it. Thank you, Black American Made, for giving a sub. We are on a hype train. Oh, thank you. That's really kind, everyone. Consider talking about the hype train. But yeah, we debate all the time, and I'm guessing. Can someone tell me why this is happening right now? This there's any particular reason that Matt Binder and Humus Report, both who I'm aware of, I know.
Because of the fish hooking that you did, the massive mogging that happened on the Tim Pool show, as you were beset by enemies on all sides, trying to run away and gish gallop from the facts you were bringing to the table and eloquently producing ad nauseum throughout the entire interview.
Yes.
Maybe. Thank you, Agent. Agard 2 for the 5 gifted subs. That's really super kind of you. Thank you for that. Putting us a level 2 hype train. 25% down, 75% left. But yeah, guys, can you tell me, like, was it? I imagine, because I know those two are part of the leftist mafia. I think that's what it's called, right? So they stream at the same time as I do. Were they talking about my debate? That's the only thing I can think of. They are probably rating from leftist mafia pockets. Exactly, Moon. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you, Malakat. Oh, hey, that's this person right here, DQ. Thank you for the 5 subs. That's really kind of you. Hey,
You're welcome.
really cool of you. We're at level 2 hype train. Level 2 hype train, 87% done. 13% or 13% left. Help us get to a level 3 hype train. It's really kind of you. Oh, Malakat, the gifts on different another resubs. Sorry. And for a year, thank you so much. Now we're at level 3 hype train. Thanks for helping us out. Keep up the good work. I'm from Charlie stream. Loved your debate. Oh, Agard. Oh, okay. So I was in another stream on Tuesday. Enemy Charlie. That's her name. Enemy Charlie. And we had like a whole like a elimination style debate thing. I made it to the last round, and we got a few follows there. Thank you, Agard, too, for being so kind as to help us out the channel. That's really, really kind of you. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, you were doing like a hippy dippy kind of thing the other day. I was on Gibbs, so I wasn't listening. But what was that madness?
Ooh, do not make that comparison. That's not what it was.
I don't know what it was. That's why I'm asking. As soon as I saw that many people, I'm like, and
Yeah.
muting the stream, but giving a view.
This wonderful person, Enemy Charlie. She does some politics on her stream. She seems more a bit of a variety. I haven't watched her stream actually personally, but like my friend Gibbs just introduced me to her. And in any case, she's on the leftist side. She wanted to like break in more into the politics arena, and so she set up a political debate type thing, and it was fun. All the conservatives got eliminated immediately, and so like it was just lefties there. But in any case, before anyone leaves, I just want you to know, hit the follow button. Love to have you if you're new from the Matt Binder's or Humanist Reports channel. We do these things all the time. We have these conversations.
Really in depth, really informative. Sometimes
Yes.
crazy. They get a little toxic. You gotta be okay with it.
Oftentimes crazy. Yeah. Thank you, Gritty
Please
Baby,
use this ad toxic.
for gifting a sub. We have 3 minutes left on the hype train. 90% done. 91% left to level 4 hype train. Consider helping the channel if you can. If you get our subs, you'll get our emotes, and you'll get ad-free viewing, and be keeping this channel up and running. Once again, consider helping out. Hey, any pointers on how to grow my stream? How to grow your stream? Okay. Thank you, Cancel
Subscribe
Culture.
to Prom Kai's. This is a great way. Again, I don't know what it does. I did it. I just started gaining thousands of subs just like that.
That's how that works, indeed. So yeah, I guess it would be to be consistent and to find that audience. I think that's the most important thing, is consistency. So that people know that they can rely on you to be around, and then they will come through. That's like it sounds like a cop-out answer, but it really isn't. I guarantee you, it's not a cop-out answer. It's like, getting the will to do it again and again, which can be extremely difficult. Did you see that DoorDash is going to let you pay in installments like a payday lender? I have not heard that, but like I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of places. I mean, a lot of people at this point have so little that they're using these installment apps, right? And those are
But it's
basically
so
like
dangerous.
they're high interest. Yeah, they're just like micro loans with high interest. Like it's a big issue. Think of the 5 bits. Born Rapid. Thanks for helping us out. A minute and a half left in the clock. Consider helping out the channel again. We appreciate any help with subs, gift subs, the free subs. Really kind. Yeah, but like again, why did I get rated? Someone tell
Did
me.
you see where they remove Jackie Robinson's military page?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
of DEI?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. They like DEI just means black. That's literally the only definition. Like Jackie Robinson is one of the most American concepts you could possibly think of. Like, and they were like, you know what? Let's get him out of here. Somebody just made that call. Let's get him out of here. And I still think it's crazy. Like, as much as we talk about like Nazis, neo-Nazis and stuff like that, it's like literal ones have to be difficult to find. I still think it's crazy that like a member of like the Doge team was outed as an actual neo-Nazi and he like kept his job.
It's actually really
I
bad.
mean, white nationalists, but
It's
I
worse
mean,
than
why
you.
are we not surprised?
No, it's much worse and darker than you think. So I think this is the one called Big Balls. I think it's this guy,
it
right?
was big balls.
Yeah, it's Big Balls. He's part of this online collective that operates these independent Discord groups that like are these kind of like quasi hacker types, but like they are affiliated with neo-Nazis, and they do these weird things where they try to find vulnerable people of color, right? Like one of these groups, they try to find vulnerable people of color who are like on the internet. They try to get them to pull them into their group, and then they like try to destroy their self-esteem, right? Like you get internet points within the group for doing this, destroying their self-esteem to the point where like they're so broken that they like self-brand themselves like for the group, for the pleasure of these like white neo-Nazis, like and to be owned by this violent group. It's really fucking dark, the type of people that this guy associates with. Like it's real bad people.
But how does he get high? How does that like? It almost makes it feel like That's what he was looking for. Like Elon was looking for, like the worst
Yeah.
type of
Um,
people.
Yeah,
What
that's
up,
something
Nazi?
like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a Nazi too. Elon Musk is a Nazi. He's been saying Nazi shit for years and years and years. Um, there's this program called Some More News, which I've watched. Like you've seen me water Kai maybe like look at their program, like review their videos. But they had a video, might be more than one video on Elon Musk. Like maybe Elon Musk is a Nazi. I think it's called something like that, right? But they go over Elon Musk's like rhetoric for like over the course of his entire public life. And yes, he says Nazi shit all the time. He retweets Nazis all the time. He's being sued like class action suits from his factory workers because he's literally been segregating his factories and like being prejudicial to his like minority factory workers. Like Elon Musk is a Nazi. Then he goes on. He goes to the AfD, right? Like the German like neo-Nazi party. And he like supports them. Like he's a Nazi. I hope we can all understand this. Go ahead.
Yeah, but in the most like literal sense of the word is kind of crazy. I mean, down to the Hell Hitler. But I will something something else that is going on. Like I was curious how y'all felt. To me, Trump's done like lots of like crazy irresponsible things. To me, the thing with the recent deportations is up there with the worst. The fact
It's
of
impeachable.
Yeah.
the fact that like removing people from the United States without any due process, no court cases, no charges, just deciding that these are members of gangs and like saying like implementing a wartime act from 1798, the American
Oh,
Enemies Act.
and also things like getting Khalil out of office, or excuse me, trying to get him deported, right? By
Oh, yeah.
using a law that was meant to expel Jews.
Yeah,
That's kind of poetic justice right there. That's crazy.
I don't know. Like, I just think that, like, and the fact that, like, whenever it's Trump's idiocracy is having an effect on our entire government, on the entire executive, and in some ways legislative branch, in the way that they discuss things, in the way that they're writing, like, writing the literature, isn't like it's not coming from a legal perspective. It's like a fifis. It's like a feels thing. They're like, wow, they're trying to prevent the commander in chief from protecting people from the worst of us. And it's like, wait a minute. Like he's like, you want these bad people in this country? Wait a minute. The conversation is about whether they should be here or not. Like the issue is these people haven't had any court days. There's no charges. These people like there's an actual process to this. Like every single one of them could have ended up you have their day in court, and every single one of them could have been rightfully deported technically. But like you can't just ignore that process and decide
So
that like
I want to expand on this. So like apparently to like the people who were here, they were saying that it wasn't like they were it was just a coincidence I got rated today. The reason why I assumed I got rated for specific reasons because I know Matt Binder is an avid Tim Pool hater, right? And he talks about him all the time, and like he like goes over his videos and talk about how ridiculous he is, right? So that's why I was assuming you guys were here. But if you weren't here for that reason, if you're a Matt Bender fan, then you might like this debate that I just had on last Friday, with Tim Pool. I'm putting it in the chat. That is a link to my debate with Tim Pool and another person on Doge. So if that like interests you at all, click on that link. I'll take you to Tim Pool's channel. But you can, if you like someone like harassing Tim Pool to the point where he has to change the subject because he was losing so badly, well then that's the debate to check out. We were talking about Doge, so it's very topical, and then I can parlay that to what my friend Bam was saying here. So what I was saying during that debate is that yes, the process matters. Like people were saying, well, aren't you like against waste, fraud, and abuse? Well, yes, of course everyone is, right? That's like a thought terminating cliche. You could simply state that you're going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. One, that doesn't mean you actually are, but two, we have a process to do that. We have a Congress who controls the power of the purse, and we have like several layers of oversight in place, like for instance, inspector generals. If you're concerned about getting waste, fraud, and abuse, you don't fire the inspector generals, especially the ones that Trump hired in his first term. The reason why they're doing this, I'll say it again. Again, I said this during the debate, so check out that debate. I think you'll enjoy it, right? But the reason why they want to do this is they want to undermine our system of democracy, like meaning our checks and balances. They have a Republican Congress that, like our friends were saying here, they're already friendly to Donald Trump, right? They say they're behind him all the way, right? So why can't the Republican Congress defund a USAID or defund the CFPB or defund Social Security? The reason why is because they don't want to be seen doing that, right? So they're happy abdicating their power to Donald Trump, but it goes further than that, because what they want to do, they're pushing the unitary executive theory that basically says, very simply, is that the president doesn't have checks and balances against them. They pretty much are a king. It's very simple to boil it down. Is that no one, right, whether the Supreme Court or Congress, should have the power to check them. So instead, they're putting Doge being under the executive branch, is saying, well, Doge has the ability to do all these things. It doesn't have the ability to do so. That's part of the issue. And so, like, going back to what my friend Bam was talking about in terms of the immigrants, right? The undocumented immigrants who got sent out, right? We have a judicial process. They could have been sent to court if they are actually like violent gang members, right? Who have violated the terms of our, of our normal society, right? Or of their asylum or of whatever. They can prove that in court. The government can just do that. And instead, what they've done is they simply accused these individuals of that, and then stated now the executive branch has the ability to send them off without any due process, right? Or without any judicial review. And then even when the judge says, turn the plane around, they refuse to do so. This is what we're talking about. This is the undermining, the systematic, this is all on purpose, a systematic undermining of our democratic process. That's what they're doing. All right, there you go.
And there's no, like, I think the thing is they put out little orders against whatever. Like they put out the judiciary is dropping little things. I can't remember what the word is for them against Trump. But the Supreme Court has given him complete criminal immunity. So like there really is no form of repercussions they'll even hold against him.
Yep.
Well, they're not enforcing it. We've had constant things that can actually stand against this, but no one will enforce it. Same goes, he's been impeached a couple times. They won't vote to remove.
Well, he can't.
That came down to Mitch McConnell.
With the current House and Senate split, like they've chosen that Trump, the House and Senate is treating Trump as their king. Trump can't be impeached, not by the existing House and Senate.
Yeah.
They decide because they agree that Trump has all power in his executive. Like he's literally pulling power from the legislative. He doesn't want them to pass bills. He doesn't want them to do things.
There are no more checks and balances that we even have them. We'll just say loosely, right? But there are no more such things as checks and balances anymore. The courts were never going to save us. The courts were never going to save us. Let's be real. They were never going to save us.
I actually think they have
because the only thing that's like stopping like from that are the checks and balances, right? So if you have no one to check the judiciary, no one's going to check the judiciary, no one's going to check the powers of the president, no one's going to check the powers of then no one's going to be able to save us. And he was never going to be a savior anyway. The judiciary was never going to be a savior. Point blank and period.
No.
Like,
I've actually been really happy with the judiciary so far. Like the Trump administration is getting frustrated
by people that they even put in office. That like I don't know between Prime or you said, but like by people that they had already instilled, right?
Well,
and then
I was saying that as far as like
them
the
into
Congress members. I mean, I know they've instilled judges too, but I'm saying that there seems to have been a number of judges that have came out against the constitutionality of most of Trump's executive orders. And that's why the Trump administration is so frustrated right now. The issue, like the issue, the next issue becomes one of two things. One, where we don't truly know where the Supreme Court is going to stand on most of these issues yet. Like as they make it to the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Roberts could go either way on most of these issues. Surprisingly, Amy Coney Barrett has been holding it down.
He rebuked exactly what was going on. Very rare. That doesn't happen from Justice Roberts at all, right? Where he sat around and rebuked what was going on in judiciary. So that kind of leaves me to be like, I don't think he's for anything that's going to come and wind its way through the courts. And
he just said that he was just responding to Trump saying impeach a judge. He said you can't impeach a judge because you don't like their decision. But that doesn't mean that if any of these individual cases related to whether it be immigration, et cetera, he's done so many executive orders, it's hard to keep up. That doesn't mean that he would rule against the individual statutes, the individual measures if the court weighs in on them. Like I said, that I guess his hope is to get these solved before they get to the Supreme Court. I'm just saying I don't know how they're going to go. Amy Coney Barrett's been better than I expected as a justice. Chief Justice Roberts is like literally hit or miss. You have no idea how he's going to land on issues. So that's scary.
Thank God it was Alito.
Yeah, the other issue we have is besides them two, is the Trump administration, or at least the administration to this point, has continued to say that, we're going to listen to the courts. We're going to listen to the courts. Again, Donald Trump don't have a means of recourse or consequence to him. Like I said, he can't face criminal prosecution. There is a world where there is a world like the really bad option is where he eventually comes out and says, the courts are too corrupt. We're not going to listen to him anymore. And now the question is, what happens in that world? Do the Republicans in the House and Senate, to protect themselves, make a jump to say that if he's going to reject the courts, we have to impeach him? Or do they shut up and be quiet, and then we do have an actual dictator?
They're going to shut up and be quiet only because they're scared. They're scared that they're going to lose their seats. Point blank and period. They're motherfucking scared.
Well, DQ, you're absolutely correct there. Exactly what I was going to say is that Elon Musk, right, is their enforcer. He's an enforcer with his money. Elon Musk has openly said, this happened in December, right? That the test case was the budget that they had to pass. That the House Democrats and the Senate and the House had come to a conclusion, right? They had come to a consensus. The Republicans and Democrats, they were going to pass this bill, the spending bill. And Elon Musk, all of a sudden, just on Twitter, states he doesn't like this and that in the bill. And if you vote for it, well, he's just going to dump a ton of money into your race. All of a sudden, it all falls apart. All of a sudden, all these Republicans say, well, I was never for this bill. In fact, actually, I never liked it. They are terrified because, and the threat isn't idle, right? At any point in time, Elon Musk can dump millions of dollars into their races. And so because they're self-serving pieces of shit with completely spineless cowards, of course, they're going to acquiesce, right? So Elon Musk is critical to what's happening right now. His enforcement is instrumental to this. Which also means that these Tesla protests are actually great. They're actually fantastic. I'm not sure if you guys did you all see the interview he did, I think it was on Fox News, and he talked about they were talking about all the sacrifices that Elon Musk is doing for the country, right? And he was nearly in tears, right? The reason why he's nearly in tears, we were talking about the stock price, how that stock price has been dipping. It's working. So Elon, the Tesla sales are in the toilet, right? And there's for the last 2 quarters, and they've never been this bad before. This is something new in the company's history. The sales are going off a cliff. And there's no reason to think that's going to stop, right? For the next quarter, I'm telling you, the sales are going to get lower. So the sales are dipping, and most of his wealth, the vast majority of his wealth, is tied up directly in Tesla stock. Directly. So, like, when the stock was dipping, right? I heard that, like, in one day he lost $29 billion. Actually, he's afraid of this. That's why Donald Trump, like, on the grounds of the White House, I think, right, did that commercial for Elon for the Tesla. Yeah, you saw him in the, I believe, the red Tesla. Hey,
Yep.
this is a great car, right? Literally, he
And
had
with
like
all
Tesla
the
facts.
prices,
He had Tesla facts. He did a commercial for Elon, right? Because he realizes Elon's power is tied directly to Tesla. So these protests, hey, if you're part of these
I love
protests,
Tesla.
did I say Tesla?
No, that's what Trump said. He said, "I love
Okay.
Tesla."
Well, if you're part of the protests, again, peaceful protests, of course, right? But if you're part of those peaceful protests, actually, you're doing God's work. Actually, you're doing the thing that he's absolutely afraid of. Elon Musk is not invincible. I need you to understand this. He's not. He's vulnerable to these things. Elon Musk, like, uh, like relies on his workers, right? So his workers are always a pain point, labor power always, but also customers, and he's become so toxic that he's losing that power. So if you want to like temper his ability to affect the public discourse, then you should absolutely be like protesting at Teslas. You should be encouraging people to not buy Teslas. Teslas, the resale value of Tesla cars are in the toilet now, right? Like they cannot move a resale, well, either the newer ones or the resold ones. They're not moving. This is a huge threat. Like, this is how we save ourselves.
And I think that we also should be critical of Elon and X, aka Twitter forever, right? And how much money he will owe to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia if this shit fucking goes down. And this shit's going down. And I'm sure Saudi Arabia has some money towards Tesla stocks and shit too. However, that's all built into it, right? But we also got to think about his biggest investors in X were probably already paid in Tesla stock. Realistically.
Wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't exactly. It wouldn't shock me either. Right?
Cash.
Right. But like, what is he going to do when all those people are like, I don't think I really want to be involved with this anymore and want to pull out? If they do.
I mean,
Right?
you guys,
This is a big
yeah.
if.
Bam,
right?
you say something?
Yeah, I would say the one thing I would say before that I could kind of disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
Is back to like you saying that Elon's threat of primarying all of them. I think that there's a legitimate threat there, but there's a counterweight on the other side of it with Trump. Trump has built a lot of trust and like built a long leash with Trump himself. But Trump hasn't done. We've had this conversation. We had this conversation recently. Trump hasn't done a good job in investing in a party. Trump, like the Republican Party's strength isn't directly tied to Trump's. So like Trump's, especially with Trump's name not being on a ballot come primary season, like as if he continues to tank the economy, for example, they're like, sure, people may still love Trump. But there's gonna be a direct correlation in how that affects the House and Senate. People will lose seats based off of that, regardless of how other Republicans feel about Trump. So it's like,
People are angry.
so I'm saying that like, when it comes to like the courts or like the things that Trump can do, like Trump can do things that may not necessarily ruin his reputation, that can destroy like the people beneath him's political careers. And I think that would be something that would be like, I don't know where it would land, but that's something that would be in the balance if Trump went like, I mean, he's already off the rails, but there's like, the further he goes off the rails, there's probably, from seat to seat, there's some limit that people are going to reach where it's like, okay, this is no longer like, like for self-preservation. I don't know what that is. Like you're already hearing, I'm sorry, last thing. You're already hearing like some Republicans say like come out and say vocal negative things related to tariffs about the impact. Like they're saying, like, even if they're not saying Trump's name, they're saying that like, yeah, maybe we should focus on the tax cuts instead of these tariff things right now. Not saying tariffs are bad, but maybe we should just do something else right now. Like they're trying to, the people who are making differentiations for themselves because the decisions making are having negative impacts on the economy. And if you think we've done with the dip, they're coming back even stronger on April 2nd. They like as soon the day you announce tariffs, the economy is going to take like every time he's doing it, the economy is going to take a 4 to
Recession's coming.
6 point dip.
And I think my fear too, what you were saying, is that like once his name isn't on the ballot, right? Like it hasn't been on the ballot here in 4+ years until now, right?
Mhm.
We only got. I think that my fear is, and this may be a fear of others too, that I don't know if they have the same thing, is that he is going to try to run again. He's already done 2 presidential. I'm sorry, I'm like
Terms.
mixing up my words. Appointments, right? Exactly. So I think that he is going to try and get the judicially. If he can't like destroy it, if there's still some semblance there, right? He is going to try to say, you know what? I'm gonna push for a 3rd term, like, or more terms, right? Until whatever happens, right? Like, I think that's my biggest fear personally, just because we already know, like, he's already autocratic and like stuff like that. So it's just like that's me, like, kind of putting 2 and 2 together, right? Because if he doesn't put himself on the ballot again in some form or fashion, right, he loses every ounce of power that he has, right? So in 4 years, and we're having another big election, right? Like, where does that go? Does it really go to JD Vance? I don't think JD Vance really wants to run, right? I don't know where that necessarily
No,
goes.
JD Vance wants to run. Absolutely, no, he 100% wants to do that. But
Yeah.
but JD Vance does not have the charisma. He has no charisma. And he cannot take on Donald Trump. But like back to what Bam was saying, and again, I think Bam is spitting a lot of truth here. Is that like Trump has not invested in the party, right? What he's done is molded the party to be amicable to himself, right? But he hasn't invested. He literally, like, not investing, I mean like literally in terms of dollars, right? The Republicans have done fundraising, right? And like that money, he's taken money that wasn't like directly sent to him and like just like yoinked it, like okay. Like, because he put his like daughter-in-law in the RNC, he just like yoinked some of that money. It's like, okay, well, this is just mine now, right? And then beyond that, when there's races that need his assistance, he hasn't like invested in the way that like a Joe Biden would have invested, right? And fuck Joe Biden, I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but he hasn't like literally invested in the mechanics of the party, and he is not also he is not necessarily like grooming someone to take over after him, right? Like I think JD Vance is going to be an empty suit who he pulls in front of the camera every so often, but he has no real trust in him. In fact, he said in the interview, right? He doesn't actually believe in his vice president, right? He's like, whatever, right? He doesn't think that he's going to be a worthy successor.
Elon more than JD. He sent JD off to Europe.
Yeah,
like he doesn't even share. Yeah, he doesn't even share like
Yeah.
TV time with JD. Anything. Like he JD Vance is being treated like shit as a vice president.
Yeah. Like absolutely. So this is exactly what I'm saying. So he hasn't invested in that. He's not investing in like what comes next. Donald Trump has never given a damn about this, right? Not 1 second he's given a damn. He's been thinking about like what's good for himself, right? And that is one thing is our saving grace, because he doesn't actually care about the project. He cares about enriching himself. So because of that, like what everything that Bam said is true, in that like when in 4 years, there's going to be a reckoning, but that's going to also happen beforehand. In 2 years, we have the midterms. In the midterms, I think there's going to be a biblical loss on the Republican side. I think it's going to be huge, right? Especially if the Democrats manage to get their acts together, which is a big if. But
yeah, that's a pin that we got to talk about too.
But you need to understand this. 2 years is not going to come fast enough. This is the big thing, right? Don't be waiting for the midterms to fight back, because Project 2025 and like certain signs within the Trump administration show that they're only planning, right, to have power for 2 years. They get this. They understand that they're going to be extremely unpopular. They understand that, well, even in a regular presidential term, you lose power, you lose a Congress by the first midterm. They already understand this. Even Doge, if you actually read the executive mandate, the executive order that creates the Doge, it only lasts for 2 years. That's because they know they're not going to have power by then. But before that happens, before the end, they will do irreparable damage. Like dismantling the Department of Education, you don't get just to put that back together good as new in 2 years. The CFPB, you don't simply put that back good as new, right? When they got the SEC and the FTC and the and all of these institutions, the EPA, right? All this specialized knowledge, it's gone. It doesn't come back in 2 years. That's why the fighting has to happen now, in this moment. That's when you should organize.
Tim Walz,
Yeah, but the Democrats aren't going to motherfucking fight back. Point blank and period.
Oh,
Like they're not good at it. They're not good when we need them to be good, right? It's us the citizens, right? We're going to like where we need to go. Like we're fighting back, quotations around that, like against our local like representatives, and be like, oh, it's going to be the far left, when all of them people that are in there are well over 60 years old, right? Like we aren't, like the Democrats aren't going to survive for another 2 years unless they get their shit together. And the signs point to not getting their shit together. So then what comes next?
I mean,
what's going to happen?
I think that's a real question. Like Tim Walz was asked this a question kind of about that. I'll just read this off real quick. The question was, how much can Democrats rebuild? How much can Democrats rebuild of what Trump is unbuilding right now? We've seen cases where employees are laid off, court orders them back, but they're still laid off. Do Democrats run in 2028 on reestablishing it? And then he says, I use the analogy of the car running out of gas. Car runs out of gas, you go get a can, you pour some in, you start it up, and it's all fine. This is the car running out of the oil, and it's broken. And what I'm saying is he's breaking it. This is a little bit of Ezra Klein space, but Democrats need to acknowledge that not all of these agencies work perfectly. All of us who teach would agree to that. You know, we say how important the Department of Education is, how it does incredible work, but we would all agree that there's ways it could be better. Well, same thing. It's the content
okay,
is
fine.
Agree or argue
there's
that
way...
it could be better.
Yeah.
I think we need to start messaging. I can't believe you. I'm sorry.
Oh my! I'll do it. I think we need to start messaging right now. We need to.
No, you will not do it. I think we need to start messaging right now. We need to put our experts on this. How will we build back next time? I think it's an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity to create the agencies the way we saw them in the first place, functioning better without all the barnacles. So Trump might be doing us a favor. He stripped it down. He blew the motor up. We're going to put a new motor in and take off. And I think that's how we have to start thinking about it. So like at first I didn't know how I feel about this because it felt like Blue Doge. I was like, oh, we're gonna make it more efficient. I was like, I don't think...
very lib. This sounds very lib. Well, it's not realistic.
Well, I think it's more realistic than the alternative. Like Trump is firing a lot of people. Now, the number of government employees over time hasn't actually changed as much as the Republicans are making them out to be. It's not like we have tons of government employees that we've never had before, but the Republicans are firing a lot of people, a lot of like long-term people. Like the Democrats shouldn't. He's saying that the Democrats shouldn't run 2028 on saying I can take us back to 2020. Even though I think that Biden ran a great presidency, it's saying that like, okay, Trump is messing up so much that the case shouldn't be a return to the status quo. It's actually a time and framework where you can decide, like where the party can actually decide if they want to be something better or be something different. So this is I guess this is the leftist like time to shine, so to speak.
Rise
But at
up,
the same
Max
time,
left.
every time something is broken, like when George Bush put in the Homeland Security Act, Democrats don't come in and take that away. So if they get the power to rebuild these agencies the way they want them to, I don't think that's going to be a benefit for us either. We had a good system in place. They're running roughshod over it. All they need to do is enforce those rules against this president and his regime, and things will be fine. Democrats aren't good with breaking rules to fix this situation. So they're not going to do the things. And Chuck Schumer could have done the thing with the debt ceiling or with the budget. He didn't do it. So every
Fuck
chance
Chuck
they've had to
Schumer.
actually do something, they've just fucked it off.
I
So
think
they need to stand
Fuck
up
him.
and have a spine.
He doesn't have a spine to begin with. He needs to get his fucking leadership gone. We have all of these old people in these fucking offices who don't know what the fuck they're doing, who don't even fucking know how to use the internet, but all the fucking people that they employ know exactly how the fucking internet works.
You call this a left take? I actually don't. I think it was a good thing that Chuck Schumer didn't shut down the government. I actually think it removed
No, but
responsibility.
everybody wanted to, including the unions, including the people who they were trying to quote unquote protect.
And where do
They
you think
even wanted
the
them gone.
responsibility would have immediately went to for everything wrong with the economy?
They
everything?
needed to own it. Republicans needed to fucking
But
own
the
it. It's
Republicans
not on the
won't own it.
motherfucking Democrats.
The
They
Democrats
need to
would have,
fucking own it. They need to own it. It's them. They're the only people who fucking wanted it. So
Yes,
let all of the fucking Republicans who wanted to vote for it motherfucking own that shit. It ain't on us.
But I'm saying there's the argument, there's two arguments. There's the argument if you let the government shut down, it's going to bring the Republicans to the table, and now you're going to somehow get something different out of it versus basically continuing resolution that keeps spending in most cases almost exactly the same as it is now. I think, to me, like I agree with Chuck Schumer that this is probably the best deal the Democrats are going to get just based on the number of seats we have. Is just continuing things are right now. If the Democrats let the government shut down, now I think that's what Trump would have wanted. I think he could come out easily and say that, like, see, the Democrats don't want you to get paid. The Democrats are the reason the stock market's down. The Democrats are the reason for everything bad that's happened.
They've been blaming the fucking Democrats for everything.
Sure,
what
but
the fuck is new? What is new?
Something.
It doesn't. I don't think that it necessarily matters that like, I hear what you're saying, Bam. That hey, this gives Trump a tool that he could beat the Democrats over the head with, right? But it's not simply shutting down the government. If that was the only plan, hey, that we simply shut down the government, then I agree with you. But the other part of that plan is counter messaging, which the Democrats never seem to understand that they had the ability to do. That you can go in front of the public and make your case, saying, "Hey, the reason why we're doing this is because we're in an emergency. We can't go along with this budget because one, it gives Trump a lot of power in terms of like it creates a slush fund of money that's going to departments that are apparently no longer functioning, and so Trump might just do whatever he wants with that money. That's a big issue, but also draw attention to the problem at hand of Trump slowly or not so slowly dismantling our government. A lot of people still don't understand that's happening. They don't get it, right? Like this draws attention to that moment, right? And in this moment, you go all in, go about the importance of these talk about these importance of these departments, right? Certainly the importance of Social Security. You make the case, you sound the alarm. Like Chuck Schumer is like, well, it would have just given him more power to dismantle the government, but he's already dismantling the government. He's going to do that any which way. The government is going to be dismantled if we sit here and do nothing. So it requires an extraordinary response. It's a risk, and you're not incorrect in saying that, Bam. And I think that's what you're trying to say. That it's definitely a risk. This is not a costless strategy. But I think the better strategy is to show the public that, yes, you are fighting because you have a public that is enraged, the ones who are aware of what's happening, right? They are quite enraged, and you need to show them, yes, we're in your corner. We're going to be the champions here, and we're going to get the rest of the country behind this effort, and this is where we start.
I think that the way I could have been forward is if the asks and demands were clear. Like I think that there's a lot of people, like I said, because I think the average person's interaction with politics is more surface level. They just want to see the Democrats fight. Period. They don't know what they're fighting for, but just like shake your fist at the cloud, and say stop. But I think that if the Democrats were on a united front of like, oh, okay, we have issues with these budgets and we have clear asks, or for what we actually want to see that's meaningfully different than this, that you can reasonably
Yeah,
get
you can have
when
those.
you have a minority. What are those asks? So I'm about to say,
I
doing
don't.
something with the Department of Education isn't.
Um.
And also, my student loans go in the way if the Department of Education's going the way. High key, low key. Sorry.
I will admit this is a gap in my knowledge because I know there were asks that they were that like the House Democrats were going for. I don't know what they were though. So like that's a gap in my own knowledge.
It comes to like the communication of it. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like you. I think you engage with politics in the top 5% of like Americans, and probably higher than that. But on a low end, probably the top 5% American. And I think if you can't convey, maybe not to the average, but if you can't convey to a decent percentage of Americans the ask of like, oh, they're voting no because of A, B, C, and D, and if they get A, B, C, and D, they'll be good. Then it's to me that makes it a bad reason to block.
Well, okay,
like maybe you could say that's a blame of the Democrats on messaging. Maybe they could have did a better job of promoting that and saying what those things are. But I'm saying that the day of the vote came and they haven't done a good job of promoting what they wanted to vote no for. So that's why I was like, I don't know if they should.
I was watching the majority part of Sam Cedar. Matt Binder was actually on today, and what they were saying, they brought up or actually maybe this actually was on another show. I forget. I was watching a political show today. All right. Anyway, they were talking about an excerpt from an upcoming book these New York Times authors are going to publish. And it's about like how the Republican Party was taken over. But part of this book is that these New York Times authors were going to, or journalists, were going to interview Chuck Schumer, right? They have a bunch of quotes from Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer makes it clear that he is literally completely incapable of fighting back. What Chuck Schumer was saying was that, like, okay, when Trump is no longer on the ballot, right, the Republicans will come back to their senses. That he's saying, I don't understand why like a fireman, like in NYC, I think, like is angry, right? Is so angry. I don't get the anger of the people. He is completely out of touch. One, he thinks he's still dealing with the Republican Party of the 1970s. He thinks he's still talking about them. He's still thinking like the fever will break, right? Something they've been saying since Obama, right? And Obama was before Trump, when the Republican parties were fighting the Democrats tooth and nail, when they wouldn't let anything pass, right? But he thinks that okay, Trump is the singular issue, right? He is the cause, not a symptom.
2016.
Not a symptom. He thinks he's a cause. That he's a cause. And so if we just get rid of him, then that solves the issue. He is completely fucking delusional. He doesn't understand the threats that we're facing right now. We have to get rid of him.
It sounds exactly like Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell said the same exact things. He thought the exact same ways. Hey, you know what? I'm not even going to impeach him. And this is why I blame Mitch McConnell for the reasons why we still have him in office today. We still have Trump in office today. It was because he did not vote no, because his mental thinking was, you know what? He's going to be lost on this. He is gone. Trump has lost all political ration after this.
You're talking about
right?
after January 6th or after?
Exactly after January 6th and all of this shit, right? He thought that Trump was going to be done politically. But he thought wrong. He thought that the Republican Party was going to return back to the grand old party, but it didn't. He did not see what was right in front of him, which was that Trump was taking over the party completely. It was never going to go back. It was never going to go back to the party of the the 1980s, the 70s, the 1990s, the 20s, or excuse me, the early 2000s. It's done. It's done for. The whole entire political party as Republican has been blown up.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch McConnell should be hated for a number of reasons. But like I said, I don't disagree with y'all that Chuck Schumer is past his time, and it would be
All of them are past their times. All of them on Democrat and Republican. They're
mean-
all past their
I mean,
time.
Hakeem Jeffries was like, I don't see
And
what leverage
Hakeem
we
Jeffries
have.
got a
There's
motherfucking
nothing.
go too.
Actually,
Fuck
why
that
was-
nigga. Fuck that
why was
nigga.
Hakeem Jeffries again? This is not even like a black-white thing. Why was Hakeem Jeffries selected as the Democrat majority leader? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe in the background he has great relationship building, like Nancy Pelosi did, but he is the most uninspiring speaker I've ever heard in my life. Like, he comes out very bland. He's just dry. He's not a leader.
So I'll
Like,
tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, right? So, first, he wasn't the one Nancy Pelosi originally had in mind, right? That was it Joe Connolly or whatever his name was, the guy that AOC actually knocked off in NYC. That guy was the one who was like second in line, and that's why it was a big like shock, right? That it made these political waves because everyone thought like, oh, after Nancy Pelosi, this is the guy who's going to go through, but AOC took care of him. Then after that, like, okay, what do I have left? And she went with Hakeem Jeffries. The reason why you go for Hakeem Jeffries is only really one reason, and it's the same reason that Nancy Pelosi managed to keep her power, right? Nancy Pelosi is like, she is actually skilled at running her caucus and whipping votes, right? She's actually pretty good at that. But that's not why she was she stayed at the top, right? The reason why she stayed at the top is her incredible ability to fundraise. She's a fundraiser. She does it all the time. She broke records for fundraising, right? The level of corruption she invited into the party. But that's what she did, right? And she could trade that money for favors. And that kept her right at the top. Hakeem Jeffries, to my understanding, is a fundraiser, right? And that becomes like the litmus test for leadership rather than the abilities that you were referring to, like the ability to speak, right? To like inspire people, to necessarily hold the caucus together because he hasn't been doing a super great job doing that so far, or anything else you might think.
Money out people's pockets.
Raising the money. So go ahead, Azzy.
He inspires money out of people's pockets.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Keep him around.
Oh, chapter 143 just dropped.
But exactly, that doesn't do shit for the American people.
Yeah,
it doesn't do jack shit.
Okay. I've kept you guys on long enough. Hey everyone, if you are because we kind of extended it for the raid. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you want more of it, consider hitting the follow button, right? If you're on Twitch or YouTube, consider helping out the channel and following the channel. We do this all the time. We have really great conversations, right? Real explosive conversations. This was one where we're mostly agreed, but we have explosive debates again with people across the political spectrum, and hopefully I'll be doing like other like outside debates too, just like the one I did with Tim Pool. But if you find any value in that, and like maybe like to come back in the future, hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live, right? Don't want you to miss a broadcast. We'd love to have you. So shout out to everyone who came out. Shout out to Matt Bender. Shout out to Human Report. Shout out to non-fun 420 who rated us a little while ago. Really kind of all of you. I'm gonna let all of these people disappear. Hold on. As I say that, of course, I haven't decided who to raid. So let me do that, and then we'll head out. But once again, hit the follow button if you haven't done so yet. We love to have you. New people there, and thank you again to support other people who helped out before, like DQ, like Bam, Waterkai, I think. What was his name in chat? A guard too. Thank you for the kindness. In terms of supporting the channel, much appreciated. And if I missed anyone else, I do appreciate you as well. Mafia Jinx. I feel like I haven't. Okay, Twitch. Let's see. Scrolling. One second, guys. I'm just trying to figure out a person to raid.
Is DQ, are you still streaming tonight?
What'd you say?
I was wondering if DQ was still on doing everything tonight or not.
Yeah, I was just gonna play some Assassin's Creed, which I'm sure you know, hit or miss if someone would like to, you know, watch. I'll be doing that. I have to. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to. It's a bunch.
I'm sending you guys off to a hottie.
Oh
Can't
Lord.
wait. As always, and have a great day. Just waiting for this raid.